With your abilities, you could go to the city and have a promising future. You would soon become a high-ranking official and ride a fine horse. I, a country bumpkin, came to the city under the fervent urging of my fellow villagers. According to them, with my talents, I would surely soar to great heights and rise rapidly in status, for I was a genius. And it wasn't an exaggeration. Back in the village, I could operate a farming robot single-handedly and outperform 10 robots operated by others. What is a farming robot? You must know what it is, right? It's a humanoid machine used for farming. It was only a little taller than a person. Sitting inside one could weed, plow, plant, and fertilize all at once. A single farming robot could easily cultivate over 100 acres of fertile land in a day. When I was 6, I secretly drove that thing out to play in the wilderness. I saw adults planting back the weeds they had just cleared from the fields. Were these adults out of their minds? My innocent heart decided to help them out. So I drove the machine and quickly uprooted all the replanted weeds. By the time the adults noticed, nearly 1,000 acres of land had been cleared thoroughly. Seeing the scene, the adults were very agitated. A 6-year-old capable of operating a farming robot to clear weeds. Such a genius was rare, if not unique, in the entire galaxy. At that moment, my father started clapping first. Many people nearby tried to stop him, but I just stood there silently staring at his palm. I wondered silently, was my father so happy that he lost his mind? Why did his palm keep landing on my buttocks? Later, when I grew a bit older, after doing a great favor for the stingy owner of the village transport station, I finally earned the title of genius, a born fool. Similar incidents happened a few more times. Well, not too many, just a dozen or so, definitely no more than 100. The villagers finally recognized my uniqueness. I never really intended to show off through those incidents. I just enjoyed seeing the amusing expressions of people, eyes wide, tearful yet unable to cry, wanting to laugh, but failing. So the villagers decided no longer to bury talent. After obtaining my family's consent, the villagers cheerfully sent me off onto a cargo spaceship coming from a big city. Reluctantly parting, I began my interstellar voyage. The luxury and beauty of the big city far exceeded my childhood impressions from picture books. The people here were exceptionally enthusiastic. In just a few days, the heavy luggage I carried, including all the money in my pockets, had been kindly carried away to unknown destinations by these warm-hearted people. Walking on the cold and lonely streets, I curled up as much as possible to prevent heat from escaping with the cold wind. I had been wandering aimlessly among countless towering buildings for 2 days and nights. My empty stomach had driven away all sleepiness with unbearable hunger. If I couldn't find a job soon, I'd probably starve to death on the street. But in this place, even washing dishes required experience. Without it, you were out. Strange. Did those people also prefer experienced wives? Though I had washed many dishes back home, could that be counted as experience? Suddenly my eyes were drawn to a huge recruitment sign. All healthy citizens aged 18 and above, male and female, please sign up. Guaranteed employment with generous benefits. Guaranteed employment. I rubbed my eyes to make sure I wasn't seeing things. There was such a good deal. Half skeptical, I followed the arrow on the sign and soon found the location: Empire Woyumo City Recruitment Office. Next, the efficiency of the Imperial Army was truly exceptional. In just over a minute, the dozen people ahead of me had already completed their enlistment procedures. Name. Behind the wide counter, the one with 1 bar and 1 star on his shoulder didn't even lift his eyes. Dugu Zhan. Gender. Strange. Couldn't the guy see I'm male? Or did city folks differentiate gender differently from village folks? No way. I unconsciously touched my crotch. Gender. I've got a set. What? The one Aranester looked up at me in confusion, thinking she had encountered a monster. Fortunately, she reacted quickly and snapped back to herself. I'm asking whether you are male or female. Damn, isn't it obvious? Can't you tell? You. I think you're either a hermaphrodite or a gender neutral. I'm male. You should have said so early. In the following QA, I dared not act recklessly. I answered whatever was asked. After the session, I received a nameplate, then underwent a physical exam. With my constitution, naturally there was no problem. Everything was okay. Then I arrived at the recruit assignment office. What skills do you have? A man with 2 bars and 1 star on his shoulder looked me up and down and asked. Skills. I can do anything. Especially operating those things. Through the large floor-to-ceiling window of the assignment office, several humanoid machines were visible, parked in a wide flat space. Oh, is that so? What level is your driver's license? Driver's license. What's that? You don't know. Do you have a weapons operation certificate? No. Radar operation certificate? No. Medical care certificate? No. Glow tolerance? No. So what certificates do you have? I have none. So why did you say you could do everything? Irritated, the Tuberonester made a big cross on the skill column of my recruitment assignment form. Sir, this is the recruit assignment office. You cannot enter. Please wait in the lounge. A sergeant receptionist tried her best to stop an officer attempting to force his way in. The regulation of the assignment office stated that non-staff personnel were not allowed inside to prevent officers from using their authority to interfere with the normal assignment of recruits. Wait, I've been waiting here for almost a week and haven't gotten a single worthless recruit. My squad has to go on a mission in 2 hours, and there are still more than a dozen vacancies to fill. The officer grew impatient. Who's that? What's all the noise out here? The tuber nester, already in a bad mood, got up and went to the door. Fox, you've gotten quite a temper in just a few days. What about the personnel you promised to supply me? The officer outside ignored the sergeant once he saw someone in charge. Captain Locke, what a coincidence. You came at just the right time. I do have a fresh batch of recruits, but you know the higher-ups prioritize frontline combat units. So for now, I can only assign you one. The tuber nester's face instantly turned amiable. One? What good is one? I'm still short at least 10 people. Captain Locke said discontentedly. This one is a genius, not only outstanding in ability, but also supremely skilled. If you don't take him, don't blame me if others snatch him away. Fox made a helpless expression. Find something is better than nothing. What's that guy's name? Locke said in a foul mood. Oh, Dugu Zhan. Fox quickly glanced at the name on the assignment form. Hey, don't drag me. I have legs, I can walk myself. Being dragged around like a sack would make anyone unhappy, especially when the lean man who was dragging me was about my height. In his hands, a fat guy of 1.7 meters seemed utterly weightless. But if I wanted to with my current weight, I could definitely crush him. Though I'd only consider it if it were a pretty girl. Speed it up. We have only 1 hour. If we can't reach Helicostar 732 billion kilometers away within an hour, both you and I will face a court-martial. Captain Locke didn't hesitate. He dragged the new recruit behind him, jumped into a fly car, and rushed straight to Pier 16 of the spaceport. The two disappeared into the taxi driver's sight like a gust of wind. At the same moment, a federal currency coin completed its arc in midair and landed on the soft seat beside the driver. No mistake. It's federal hard currency, a federal gold coin. This time he made a good profit. The taxi driver smiled contentedly as he put the bite-marked gold coin into his pocket. As the war dragged on, imperial currency often depreciated, while federal gold coins, despite being enemy currency, were quite popular as hard currency. Huff. Finally made it. Locke breathed a sigh of relief as he boarded the Firebird-class Star Assault ship, codename Eddie. Locke, if you'd been any later, I wouldn't have waited for you. Is this chubby kid the replacement recruit? Asked Captain Holm, who had been anxiously waiting on the deck, seeing his old friend Captain Locke dragging back only a slightly plump young man in a huff. Yes. Why aren't you clearing the port? Any later, and he'll be late. Locke finally released his tight grip. Don't worry, we'll leave ahead of schedule, not behind. You two go rest in the lounge, they'll call you when we arrive. Holmes said as he headed for the bridge. Thanks. Wake up, we're here. The sting on my face pulled me from, we're here. I stood up and stretched. Looking around, I was still in the same lounge. How could we possibly? The hatch creaked open, and a head wearing a wide-brimmed hat poked in. Locke, we've reached the outskirts of Hadalong, still half an hour out. Should I send someone to escort you down? Asked Captain Holm. No need, you have other missions to complete. Well, land in an escape pod. Captain Locke declined Holmes' offer. The escape pod descended onto the surface of Hadalong under the deceleration rockets. Locke kicked open the slightly deformed hatch and leaped out. Based on past experience, new recruits who experienced extreme freefall for the first time were invariably unconscious. Locke was about to help the rookie out of the pod when he saw the chubby kid wobble out on his own. I crawled out of the pod, struggling to support myself. That had scared me. The madman only activated the decelerator 500 meters above ground, nearly costing me my pitiful, lovely, handsome, excellent, unparalleled young life. I crouched down, almost kissing the ground. The solid vast earth was simply too lovely. I spat on the ground and vowed silently never to ride an escape pod again, at least not with that Captain Locke. Upon reaching the destination, Captain Locke seemed less anxious. He took out a rolled cigarette from his pocket, lit it, and began to smoke leisurely. In the war zone, an unidentified object crashing to the ground would usually attract military police. To avoid unnecessary trouble, even though they had notified ahead, they still had to smooth things over. Just 2 puffs into his cigarette, he saw dust rising in the distance. Soon a military police ground effect patrol craft approached, and an MP stepped out. Locke, back so early. What goodies did you bring? The MP's eyes lit up as he called out. Dragon Star Dried. Locke produced a backpack from the escape pod and pulled out 2 rectangular objects, tossing them into the MP. Fragrant. Strong stuff. Hey, who's this kid? The MP sniffed the 2 packets vigorously, then gestured with his chin toward me crouching nearby. New recruit on my team. By the way, I'm in a hurry. Give me a lift. Locke slung the backpack over his shoulder and, freeing one hand, lifted me from the ground. No problem, get in. The MP invited Locke aboard the patrol craft. A train. As the patrol craft crested a small hill, my eyes were instantly drawn to a long line of train cars. Weren't those railroad train cars? I never expected to see such antiques in a place like this. That's not a train. It's a magnetic strategic transport train, abbreviated as magnetic train. The Chungyun standard equipment of our 19th Army Group's 7th Strategic Transport Battalion. Isn't it beautiful? Captain Locke gazed tenderly at the long, streamlined body as he spoke. Indeed, upon closer inspection, the train cars looked very different from ordinary railroad cars. Not only did each corner have a half-spherical protrusion, but underneath the cars there were no wheels at all. The MP's patrol craft set Locke and me down beside the train and turned back. Before the dust from the craft settled, a man jumped out from a car near the front and walked over. "Captain, you're finally back? Where's the replacement recruit?" The man, seeing only 2 people, was a bit surprised. "Conductor, this is him. Dugu Zhan, a genius worth 10 men. What's going on here?" Locke briefly introduced the man behind him, then pointed at the train cars behind. "It's orders from above. The Angel front is in crisis, so we need to haul 5 more cars of reinforcements." The man's face showed reluctance. "Did the general agree?" "He did. He said everything for the front, and he's willing to make a small sacrifice. He just doesn't want to delay his inspection tour, so here we are. Doesn't he know that a magnetic train with more than 10 cars dramatically increases the chance of being attacked? Damn those bastards, they're using us as shields again." "Captain, we depart in 2 minutes. Take the new guy to the galley to wash dishes, free up 2 service bots, and install advanced maintenance programs. Swap 2 from the maintenance squad. 1 goes to the entire team, the other as a mobile reserve. Hope we're lucky and don't meet any Federation air hunters. All right, board up, prepare to depart." The Empire and the Federation had been locked in an inconclusive struggle over Hadelong with the war. The Empire continuously reinforced the planet through convenient space channels, but the Federation, having painstakingly built up its forces on Hadelong, a key strategic point in the Heidi system, still maintained relative air superiority. The Imperial ground forces remained cautious and had only managed to occupy 1/3 of the land after half a year of bitter fighting. To hasten the capture of Hadelong, the Emperor dispatched his own younger brother Prince Ranster to inspect the front, boost morale, and push the war forward. "Hurry, there are 10 more buckets of potatoes to peel." "What? 10 more buckets? Don't we only need 10 a day?" I almost jumped out of my skin at the sight of the mountain of potatoes before me. After 3 days of travel, the train arrived safely at the Angel front, and I became the soldier who had eliminated the most enemies in 3 days. Over 10,000 potatoes peeled by me. My outstanding performance made the conductor transfer 4 service bots from the galley. "The Prince is hosting a banquet here today for all officers above platoon level on the Angel front. So we need to stock up especially with potatoes. It's 3 p.m. Now you'd better finish before 6 p.m. The galley chef Sang Song felt sorry for me and explained patiently. "Got it," I muttered as I quickly peeled a potato and tossed it into a nearby basket. In the Federation's Angel City Defense Command, Defense Commander Admiral Wyide looked at the intelligence on his desk. "Target has arrived, plans a large outdoor banquet." This was a highly tempting piece of intel. If true, it could be the perfect opportunity to turn the tide on the Angel front. But Wyide glanced at the assembled generals awaiting orders. "Hold the line, no attack permitted." A sharp crack. Colonel Kanaisi slammed his cap onto the ground, startling a nearby guard. "Hold the line, no attack. Damn it, I've been guarding this little patch of dirt until I've grown white mold. Finally a chance to go on the offensive, and we still have to hold." Colonel Kanaisi, commander of the Federation's elite ground assault unit, the Nighthawk Brigade, had always been resentful of deploying his mobile attack force into defensive trench warfare. "Colonel, I think the general made that decision for long-term consideration." Major Ag, the Nighthawk staff officer, bent down, picked up the cap, and brushed off the dust. "Long-term. I think the old man is simply afraid and conservative. Hey, race, a perfect opportunity for a counterattack, and he's letting it slip away. I can't stand it. AG, contact the general again and request an attack." That intelligence had cost several Nighthawk scouts their lives. Kanaisi didn't want to waste it. But the request was rejected again. The Empire's Prince Ranster dared to concentrate all officers above platoon rank in such a place. A single surprise raid could capture them all, disrupt the Empire's ground command on the Angel front, and seize the initiative. Used properly, this opportunity could completely reverse the Federation's strategic disadvantage and drive the Empire off Hadelong. As the Nighthawk's strategist, AG fully understood his colonel's feelings. He had even drafted several plans after receiving the intelligence, all now wasted. "But, AG, how about we do it ourselves?" Kanaisi spoke as AG hesitated. "That wouldn't be good. The old man's caution has its reasons. If we act without authorization, it's fine. We won't send a large force, just a small team, to raid the banquet site. If it succeeds, the old man can't complain. If it fails, we retreat. Or even if we can't retreat, losing a small team won't jeopardize the defense line. If the old man finds out, he'll take the blame. Worst case, I quit. And knowing his temper, he'll probably just yell a bit. What do you think?" Kanaisi interrupted AG. Seeing the gleam in Kanaisi's eyes, AG knew he had made up his mind. And AG also thought the plan feasible. One of his drafts had a similar design. "We decided this together. Whatever happens, we'll bear it together." AG smiled and handed the clean cap back. "Huh, I knew you wouldn't oppose. Then let's prepare a surprise welcome gift for His Highness." Kanaisi laughed heartily, took the cap, and put it back on properly. The grand banquet, a lively affair with clinking glasses, was held outdoors. Having spent the day peeling potatoes, I wobbled my hefty frame, striving to maintain the balance of the tray in my hands as I nimbly wove through the crowd. Fortunately, the feast was a buffet requiring only wine service rather than dish delivery, otherwise being the sole human server would have surely exhausted me to death. Gazing at the uniformed individuals before me, their shoulders adorned with various stripes and insignias, I couldn't help but wonder, is this a battlefield? Could war truly be like this? Yet I'd heard that war claimed countless lives. How utterly bewildering. Tray in hand, I circumvented a robotic server and headed toward a group eagerly waving me over for drinks. Before I could reach them, a thunderous roar erupted beside my ears. The distant rumble didn't disrupt the banquet's flow, though. I nearly dropped my tray. The feast ended only as the sky paled with dawn. As I labored to wash a mountain of dishes, enough to fill 2 freight trains, a denser series of booms echoed from afar, this time less jarring than before. Yet it persisted for an excruciatingly long time, keeping me exhausted from all the chores wide awake. Accustomed to the tranquility of the countryside, I found sleep utterly elusive. In a haze, I sensed someone approaching with steady footsteps, followed by a clatter, as if a heap of items was placed by my bedside. I struggled to open my bleary eyes. "Azan, I thought you were asleep," said Chef Sangsong. "I can't sleep. What are these things?" I asked, eyeing the pile by my bed. "These are your personal combat gear," Sangsong replied. "Personal combat gear?" Countless question marks popped in my head. Personal combat gear? What's that? You can't be serious. You don't even know what personal combat gear is. Haven't you had basic military training? Sangsong's expression was as if he'd spotted a prehistoric dinosaur. Military training? No one told me. I arrived at some place or other, and then I was brought here, I said, scratching my head to clear my thoughts. You came straight from the recruitment office. I suppose so. Damn kid, I don't know what to say. Since you can't sleep anyway, come with me, and he'll teach you how to use this gear. Oh, okay. In a forest clearing, I clumsily fumbled through the pile of equipment under Sangsong's guidance, trying to put on the multi-defense suit. Kid, you've got it on backward, Sangsong said before I could finish. Backward? Isn't the flat side supposed to be in front and the side with the big pocket in the back? The pocket goes in front. Since it can hold simple auxiliary tools and small devices, it's inconvenient to access from behind, Sangsong explained methodically, helping me read on the suit. The multi-defense suit with the pocket in front looked utterly strange to me. I couldn't imagine how my already portly figure would appear with that pocket stuffed full. Probably like the pregnant women ID seen back in the village. Old saying, I thought I saw someone wearing the pocket on the back, I said. Though ID only spent days peeling potatoes on the transport, my eyes hadn't been idle. ID noticed quite a bit in my spare moments. Well, those people are different from you. You don't need to wear it that way. Next we add the armor plating, first the armored vest, then the wrist and elbow guards, and the leg and knee guards. Piece by piece the equipment was fastened to my body. Before long, I looked like a warrior from ancient times. Feeling mostly geared up, I took a couple of steps. Strange, it was all loose and saggy. Walking like this was already a struggle, let alone fighting. Hey kid, don't rush. You need to put this on first, Sangsong said, clamping a full-face helmet onto me. The moment it was on, a faint hum sounded, and the multi-defense suit and attached armor plates instantly became sleek and form-fitting. Hey, how does that work? I asked in astonishment. The gear has an auto-adjustment system that can be controlled via the personal main computer in the helmet. Nice. What if it breaks in battle? I asked, my brief excitement turning to worry. Break? If that thing fails, you basically won't need it anymore. Won't need it? What do you mean? Do you think a dead person needs gear? Oh, but what if? If it does, no problem. The system locks itself after adjustment. If it's damaged, it stays locked. To readjust, you can do it manually, Sangsong said, casually detaching an armor plate from my body. That's more like it. What are those? Those are weapons. This is a combat blade. Good for chopping trees or digging holes in the wild, but basically useless for cutting people in battle. Unless you have incredible arm strength to pierce the enemy's multi-defense suit. For close combat, everyone prefers this DLA-10 Thunder Gun. Its effective range is 1,000 meters, and within that range it can easily punch through 100 millimeters of composite armor. If you're hit hidden in your current gear, don't worry. It won't leave just one bloody hole. The projectile slowed by your armor and body tissues will change trajectory and bounce back when it tries to exit, usually leaving 2 or 3 bloody cavities. Damn, is it that terrifying? Then what's the point of wearing this protective gear? I stared at the palm-sized grip attached to a half-foot metal cylinder. Could it really be that powerful? I was deeply skeptical. If you don't want to be killed from 1,000 meters away, you'd better wear this. The DLA-10 is compact and easy to carry, making it one of the best weapons for close encounters. And then there's the fragmentation grenade. It can incapacitate a group in seconds, throwing them into chaos. If you're lucky and the enemy isn't wearing armor, you've hit the jackpot. That usually happens during ambushes or if you run into a bunch of lunatics. I'm getting off track. First, get familiar with the DLA-10. It's your lifeline. I took the thunder gun from Sang Song. It felt heavy in my hands. How do I use this? First, attach this battery. This is the magazine loaded with 69mm rounds. After slotting a metal battery plate into the groove, Sang Song guided my hand to push a magazine into the chamber. Is that it? The DLA-10 felt even heavier now. Oh, I figured I could probably kill someone just by throwing it. There's more. You need to flip the output switch to fire. Is it this? Growing impatient, I spotted a knob at the rear of the half-foot metal cylinder on the DLA-10. With a flick of my thumb, click, 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 I turned it all the way and aimed at a distant treetop, pulling the trigger. Back home, I was the village's famed marksman. Anything that flew in the sky or ran on the ground never escaped. Eventually, I found those targets too big and unchallenging, so I switched to shooting leaves. It sounds easy, hitting any leaf on a tree, but I aimed for specific ones, only the stems, without damaging the leaf surface. My favorite was shooting leaves in the wind, watching them drift down like snowflakes. It was like snow. The villagers nicknamed me Madman. Later, I read in an old book that such leaf shooters were called sharpshooters, who can hit a willow leaf at 100 paces. But they used a thing called a bow, while I just had a slingshot made from a rubber band. So I was confident I wouldn't miss by much. Yet with a deafening bang, the sudden recoil nearly sent me flying. Fortunately, my weight kept me steady after 2 backward steps. Only then did Chef Sang Song's warning reach my ears. Careful, are you okay? I asked, seeing him with his hands over his ears, neck tucked, face pale. Fine. Hey kid, are you alright? Any injuries? I don't think so. Where did my shot go? Sang Song stared at me like I was a freak, pointing skyward. It flew off. Are you sure you're okay? Then why haven't you lowered your hands? Lower my hands. Ouch, my hands feel numb. I realized, still holding the DLA-10 high above my head. Let me check. Hope you didn't hurt the bones. Hey, what's that? Get down. Just as Sang Song was about to examine me, a piercing screech came from the sky. A sudden aircraft trailing smoke plunged down and crashed into the ground nearby, erupting into a fireball. In just 2 minutes, they would enter the attack position of the stealth fighters. This was the 7th sortie of the Angel Defense Line Stealth Assault Squadron in the past 6 months, and all previous 6 missions had successfully shattered the Empire's attempts to breach the Angel Defense Line. This was the 2nd time the Angel Defense Line had been breached within a month, an ominous sign. How could those fools at the Army Command have held the line so poorly? Sea Shadow 1 Watcher 6. The sudden shout in the headset startled the pilot of Sea Shadow 1, who had been lost in thought. Though uncertain of the threat, instinct honed by long experience drove him to slam the control pedal and execute an evasive maneuver. Yet with a shudder at the tail, the stealth fighter lost control. On November 2nd, Imperial Year 331, the Empire breached the long impregnable Angel Defense Line and successfully repelled the Federation's counterattack, securing their gains. The Federation's counterattack should not have failed, but unfortunately the stealth fighter that had just entered its concealed attack position was detected and shot down by the Empire, turning the perfect counterstrike plan into a mere fantasy. With the crash of Sea Shadow 1, the Empire's anti-stealth radars immediately activated in full, scanning the area where the stealth fighters had appeared. Normally, only a few of these radars were on standby, as their detection waves interfered with the precision of conventional radar. The stealth fighter squadron locked by radar still needed at least 30 seconds to reach attack position. Who shot down the first one? Prince Landstrom asked an attendant, peering through binoculars at the blazing fireballs in the sky. Your Highness, it was a new recruit under Val's command who accidentally hit it while mishandling a personal weapon during training. I will have him confined immediately. The adjutant standing nearby replied. Confine him, Prince Landstrom said with slight surprise. Yes, Your Highness. Such misuse of weapons warrants confinement, otherwise it might lead to unnecessary losses. Today that lad was lucky to down an enemy fighter, but tomorrow he could shoot down one of our own. The adjutant quickly explained. Ha ha ha, that's true. But I also want to reward him handsomely. So confine him as scheduled, and after that award him a bronze medal and promote him to non-commissioned officer. The army could use more lucky fellows like him. It would make fighting much easier. After all, thanks to him, we preserved last night's gains and eliminated the Federation's ace stealth fighter. Hadelong Star is ours. The first volley of anti-aircraft fire turned at least a third of the stealth fighters into aerial fireworks. Deprived of their stealth cover, they became perfect targets in the sky. The stealth fighters hastily discharged their onboard weapons to reduce weight and enhance maneuverability. The sky was soon filled with a dense hail of bullets and fleeting energy beams, creating a chaotic spectacle. Most of the falling projectiles missed their marks, causing only minor damage to Imperial ground personnel and equipment, while the rest merely blasted trees and rocks. General, the 7th Stealth Squadron was detected before reaching attack position and is under heavy anti-aircraft fire. The adjutant placed a fresh battle report before General Lloyd. Retreat, order them to retreat. The sudden bad news rattled General Lloyd. It's too late, General. What are the losses? The 7th Stealth Squadron has been annihilated. How were they exposed, Oi? Weren't they conducting full tactical anti-stealth operations? Unclear, but data from one stealth fighter indicates the Empire scored a first hit on the lead aircraft without radar guidance. The adjutant said uncertainly. A first hit on a stealth fighter without guidance. What kind of weapon is that? Those stealth fighters weren't fast. Hitting one on the first try without radar guidance was impossible, unless it was pure blind luck. Could it be that simple? That would be two. Another possibility was that the Empire had developed an effective counter-stealth weapon, but why had no intelligence on this been reported back? General Oid desperately hoped for a plausible explanation. Technical analysis is underway. I suspect it might be a newly developed Imperial weapon. The adjutant voiced his judgment. Is that so? We'll discuss this later. For now, order all units on the outer defensive lines to abandon their positions and converge on Angel City. In 10 hours, issue the formal retreat order to the Aoyai region. Before retreating, intelligence must immediately ascertain the specifics of this new weapon. If impossible, devise a countermeasure plan. I don't want future defensive operations compromised by it. Abandoning the Angel front was the decision General Oid least wanted to make, but maintaining this already porous line would only incur greater losses. Rather than let the Empire slowly grind down his forces here, it was better to withdraw. With the remaining strength, he could still bog down the Empire's massive planetary invasion force on Hadelong Star for a year or two. Tying down the Empire's ground forces would also strain the logistics of its powerful space fleet. If the Empire's space fleet faced supply issues, the Federation's fleet would find an opening. Alas, he hoped the Federation's space fleet would have good fortune, otherwise the consequences would be dire. Once the Empire held Hadelong, it could freely harass, raid, and attack the Federation's rear. Yes, General. The adjutant saluted and hurried away. What happened to him? In the medical vehicle, a seemingly pure and beautiful female military doctor looked curiously at Chef Sangsong, who was leading in a chubby young man with his hands raised high. What's this? A new recruit mishandled his weapon and sprained his hands. Yin, you please take a look. Sangsong explained with a placating smile. What idiot is this? The doctor called Yunya scrutinized the new recruit. A plump figure with a cherubic face, slightly reddened eyes, and a sorrowful expression. She guessed he was the son of some wealthy but powerless family sent to the army for 2 or 3 years to earn a retirement and then secure a minor official post to avoid criticism. In the Empire, it was common and normal to hire retired military personnel as civil officials. But hiring a civilian required significant political achievements or influence. Even if appointed, the Imperial Inspectorate would immediately investigate for any improper transactions. Imperial law: bribers forfeit all property, recipients face public execution, dismemberment, and display as a deterrent. Negligent inspectors are dismissed and barred from office forever. Erroneous inspectors face death. The above laws may grant leniency to active or retired military personnel serving the Empire. Yinya had seen many injuries from weapon misuse, but never such an exaggerated case. He even seemed to have cried. How did the army let someone like this in? No wonder they kept losing battles. Captain Locke recruited him. He's a genius. Sangsong joked, ignoring Yunya's remark. My name is Dugu Zhan. Could you please check my eyes first, then help me get these hands down? Seeing the beautiful woman staring at him, I smiled, awkwardly revealing a freezing grin. Oh, no problem. Your eyes are fine. Getting these hands down is easy. Just a couple of moves like this. Yunya's skin crawled, and she shuddered. Suppressing her disgust, she reminded herself that as a doctor she couldn't ignore a patient even if he seemed like trash to her. She averted her gaze, grabbed the fat man's arms, and with 2 crisp snaps lowered his raised hands. SSS. SSS. The sudden movement caused sharp pain, making me inhale sharply. Dr. Yun, what are you? Sangsong was startled too, knowing that this seemingly gentle girl had a fiery temper, but never lashed out at unrelated people, especially the wounded. What was wrong today? She had almost roughly forced down the recruit's injured hands. God help those hands. There were still half a cartload of potatoes to peel. It's nothing, just muscle strain. He'll prescribe some medicine for you to apply at home. Xiao Fei, get some trauma ointment. Don't let him do any manual work for 2 days. He can run errands. You can go now. Yinya called a nurse for some bottles of medicine, thrust them into Sangsong's hands, and dismissed them. Hey, you haven't properly checked my eyes yet. Please take a good look. Ouch. Stop that. Don't bother Dr. Yun anymore. Let's go. Sangsong ignored my shouts, grabbed me, and pushed me out of the medical room. Hey, I got sand in my eyes. It's really uncomfortable. All that. When we get back, he'll rinse them with water. That should... You? Forget it, I'll figure it out myself. Senior, why are the girls here so fierce? I don't think I offended her. Are you sure you didn't? No way. I just met her today. How could I have? That's true. Maybe something you said gave her the wrong idea. Damn, I only said 1 sentence. Alright, don't dwell on it. Kid, let me give you some advice. Get on good terms with Dr. Yun. Invite her for tea sometime. Give her small gifts like exotic items or family heirlooms to boost your rapport and ease the tension. Otherwise, you'll suffer later. That girl's medical skills are top-notch, but her tricks are just as good. If you ever get injured or sick Dr. Yun will cure you no problem, but the process might be unforgettable. No, it can't be that terrifying, right? Today's hands were already etched in my memory. In the future, I silently prayed never to get hurt or sick again. Even 100 lives wouldn't survive her torment. Hey, why is the vehicle commander coming this way? He's not here to cause trouble for you too, is he? On November 3rd, year 331 of the imperial calendar, the imperial army fully occupied Angel City, which had been abandoned by the Federation. Upon confirming the progress of the battle through communication, once more Prince Lancer furrowed his brow deeply. Although they had seized the strategic city of Angel on the planet Hadean, they had failed to eliminate the effective strength of the Federation's Hadean Defense Force. This struggle would continue to drag on. Though the overall situation was already decided, achieving final victory would still require considerable time and sacrifice. Moreover, the enemy commander still had an ace up his sleeve: the Federation's Special Forces. At the thought of the Special Forces, the prince's mind stirred. The Empire also had its own Special Forces, but suitable candidates were far too scarce. Locke, go fetch the train commander. Actually, I'll go myself. Accompanied by 2 attendants, Prince Lancer stepped out of his private carriage. After passing through several carriages and entering the dining car, Prince Lancer immediately spotted the commander of the strategic train, the Firecloud, sitting at the bar, chatting idly with a female officer. Commander Wall, do you have a moment? I need to discuss something with you. Your Highness, why did you come personally? You could have just sent for me. This is Lieutenant Yun, your medical officer. Wall quickly left the bar, stood at attention, and saluted. The female officer glanced at the marshal's insignia on the prince's shoulder before rising and returning the salute. No need to be so formal. Let's talk over there. Lieutenant Yunya, I apologize for taking up a few minutes of Major Wall's time. I hope you don't mind. Prince Lancer said, gesturing Wall aside. Your Highness, you're too kind. I don't mind at all. The female officer returned to the bar and resumed sipping her drink. How is that new recruit now? New recruit? Oh, he's still in confinement. His injuries are nothing serious. That's good. I have a suggestion if the commander is open to it. Your Highness, please speak. If it's within my power, I will comply. I would like your new recruit to attend the Kater Military Academy. This. Before Wall could respond, he was interrupted. Cough, cough. Yunya seemed to have accidentally choked on her drink. Lieutenant Yun, are you all right? Do you have any objections to what I said? Please speak freely. I am open to your cough. Since your Highness wishes to hear my opinion, I'll share it. But first, may I ask a few questions? Please go ahead. Why do you want that recruit, your Highness? I believe you know the admission requirements of Kater Military Academy better than we do. Of course I do. Lieutenant Yun, you should also know why the previously impenetrable Angel defense line fell in just these 2 days. I do. Because yesterday we successfully eliminated the Federation's counterattack asset, the Shadow Squadron. Indeed. And do you know who shot down the first Shadow aircraft without radar guidance? It couldn't be that new recruit, could it? That's right. His luck is far from ordinary. Luck? Good luck alone shouldn't be the reason to send him to Kater Military Academy. There are many others more capable than him in various aspects. If you have time, you should focus on them. Moreover, his physique alone would make it difficult for him to become a cadet. Physique? Follow me. After you see him, I hope you'll reconsider. Is that the kid, Oi? Yes. How can he be so overweight? But I don't think that matters. Without some extraordinary ability, he couldn't have fired the DLA-10 at full power and come out unscathed. The recoil is comparable to crashing into a speeding truck. Even among specially trained Special Forces soldiers, few could withstand it. You already said it was his luck. Perhaps it was just a combination of coincidences that spared him from greater harm. His hands are still immobile, aren't they? If you insist on taking him, you'll regret your decision later. It can't be that serious. It will be even worse. Lieutenant Yun, forgive me, your Highness. My subordinate was out of line. I don't oppose Dugu Zhan attending Kater Military Academy, but since we don't know him well, perhaps we should conduct an assessment first. Seeing Yunya arguing heatedly with the marshal-ranked Prince, Wall quickly intervened to smooth things over. Although the prince was rumored to be approachable, he was still no ordinary man. Very well, let it be decided. Haha, it's been a pleasure talking with you both, especially you, Miss Yunya. May I offer you a drink? I'm sorry, my break is over. I can't stay. Goodbye. Yunya turned and left without a backward glance, leaving the charming Prince Lancer standing there awkwardly. Alright, start from 50 energy. Fire. My blissful confinement life came to an abrupt end. At the same time, I was told that Prince Lancer himself would assess my combat skills, which startled me. In my mind, anyone with king in their title must be someone extraordinary. But for a nobody like me, being noticed by a big shot usually meant nothing good. Back in my village, several important figures had taken an interest in me. Of course, they couldn't compare to this prince, but even they had caused me plenty of trouble. This time would be even worse. Listening to the training officer's commands on the makeshift firing range, I carefully adjusted the LDA-10's power output to half. I aimed at a stone beside the paper target that had long annoyed me and pulled the trigger. Firing complete. Accuracy 0. The training officer announced the result after I emptied the magazine, then continued. Energy at 80. He didn't seem concerned about my accuracy, so I went along. With a loud bang, the LDA-10 flew from my hands and slammed into my forehead. With a thud, I was not. Fortunately, the discharged projectile didn't hit anyone, but my hands just healed were now joined by a large bump on my head. Damn it, this kid is utterly useless. Prince Lanster's face turned pale as he watched the scene. The pathetic display by Dugu Zhan was too embarrassing. Had he misjudged the man? Your Highness. Commander Wall wanted to console Prince Lanster, but the almost comical sight choked his words with suppressed laughter. All right, let's end the assessment here. Commander Wall, let's proceed with my itinerary as planned. Prince Lanster composed himself and said to Wall. The gains at the Angel defense line were substantial. Next, he should visit the Takhan war zone. On the surface, that area was already under Imperial occupation, but Federation combat units were highly active in the shadows, preventing numerous mines from resuming production. This deprived the Imperial Army of local resources to sustain the war effort, straining the logistics of the vast outer space fleet. If unresolved, it would inevitably have severe consequences for the Imperial space fleet. Hey kid, you did that on purpose, didn't you? Sang Song whispered as he helped me to get my head checked. Senior, do I look like I'd enjoy getting a bump on my head for fun? I retorted innocently. I think you do, TCH. Then what would be my motive? Haha, you've got your eye on our Miss Yin, haven't you? You deliberately injured yourself, so Shed treat you hoping to win her sympathy. I'd advise you to drop that idea unless you want to die horribly. Hey, where are you going? Sang Song, who was about my build, and equally unskilled, had just freed myself from his grip when he grabbed me. Heaven knows I had completely forgotten about that terrifying female medic before injuring myself. I'm fine. This bump will go down in a few days. I don't need to see a doctor. We'll just go back to work. No way. You were dizzy just now. You need to be checked out. What if you have a concussion? Then whole peel the potatoes. Chef Sang Song dutifully dragged me into the infirmary. A piercing scream echoed from the infirmary. Alas, one reaps what one sows. Clang. The train, which had been moving forward, suddenly came to a screeching halt, throwing me from the high berth to the floor. Just as I scrambled up and was about to curse, I heard a deafening boom from very close by, followed by a violent explosion that shook the carriage violently, sending me tumbling to the floor again. Combat alert. Combat alert. The train is under attack. All personnel prepare for battle immediately. Maintenance squad immediately inspect the damage to the train. Air defense squad stay alert for aerial threats. All other personnel hold your positions and await orders. The strategic transport train Xingyun had just left the Anger combat zone and entered the adjacent Taclero no man's land when it was forced to a halt by an unidentified attack. The train commander Wall issued orders for immediate defensive deployment and dispatched scouts. Soon the scouts brought back bad news that Xingyun had wandered into a minefield. What? A minefield? Prince Lanster, who had come to inquire about the situation, was taken aback. As the de facto military commander on Hadiron Star, he was thoroughly familiar with the layout of military zones on Dilong continent. The Taclero no man's land was barren with harsh weather and varied terrain. The Federation's Hadiron Defense Force had not stationed a single soldier there. After the Empire occupied the Takahon region facing the stubbornly defended Anger line, it had considered sending troops from Takahon through the Taclero no man's land to attack Anger from the flank. On the first attempt, they got lost. Fortunately, just as supplies were about to run out, they made contact with a crippled Federation fighter that happened to fly over the no man's land, and the entire force found its way back. The second time, they had slightly better luck. After enduring countless hardships crossing the no man's land, they marched straight into the Federation's Prisonerfor camp in Anger. For the third attempt, the Empire learned from its mistakes and dispatched several strategic transport trains to carry troops. However, they were still savagely attacked by Federation air power while still in Takahon, resulting in heavy losses for the strategic trains. Ultimately, the Empire abandoned the plan to attack the Anger line through the Taclero no man's land. With the Empire no longer eyeing the no man's land, the Federation had even less interest in sending troops there. Both sides were unwilling to waste their military resources, including mines and other material, in the no man's land. Now, encountering mines here clearly indicated someone intended to completely seal off the Taclero no man's land. Such an action was certainly not something the Empire, which had long sought to establish a corridor through the no man's land, would undertake. The only remaining possibility was the Federation. Yet at this time it seemed like an unnecessary move. Before the fall of Anger, it might have been justified to protect Anger's flank, but now... A sudden ominous feeling surged in Prince Lanster's heart. Well, have your scouts conduct a thorough inspection and estimate the approximate time these mines were laid. Yes, Your Highness. Your Highness, should we retreat back to Anger and then follow the original route via the Continental Highway to Takahon? Wall suggested cautiously. It's probably too late, Lanster said, deeply worried. Too late. Do you think the Federation would? In Takahon. Lock deploy all mine-clearing robots. We must open a safe passage as quickly as possible, while also realize the gravity of the situation. Chungyun Commander, this is Chungyun Vanguard. Do you copy? Chungyun Vanguard, this is Chungyun Commander. What's the situation? Chungyun Commander, we estimate this minefield was laid no more than 72 hours ago. Most of the mines are standard anti-personnel and anti-equipment types with only a few magnetic induction mines that could affect the strategic transport train's operation. It was laid very hastily. With our mine-clearing robots, we can open a path quickly. Very well. He'll have lock transfer command of the mine-clearing robots to you. Make sure the passage is secure. After making the arrangements, Wall reported the latest developments to Prince Lanster. The maintenance squad also reported on the damage to the train. The explosion had only scraped off a layer of paint on the carriage. As for personnel, apart from one poor soul who was thrown to the floor and got a large bump on his head, no one was injured. The minefield was laid after we occupied the Anjur line. That means it's indeed intended to block any soldiers who might be sent from Anjur through the Teclaro no man's land. Contact headquarters immediately and instruct them to keep a close watch on the movements of the Federation forces in Takahan and prepare for a large-scale attack. Suppressing the pain from the bump on my head, I clumsily began to put on my personal combat gear. Don't be nervous, kid. It's just a minor incident. Probably we hit a mine. Really? Kid, where are you from? Where's your home? My home is on Hemi's planet. My dad says our family immigrated from Forwell planet. Oh, Hemi's is a great place. I hear the primeval ecosystem is well preserved and the air is fresh. Forwell planet is also nice. Hey, have you ever been to Forwell? No. What kind of place is it? My dad seems to hate it. Forwell is most famous for its poker city. It's a very prosperous place. Many people are proud to have a foothold there, but some don't like it. I can't really describe it, maybe you'll understand when you see it yourself. Oh, and you, sir, where are you from? I'm from Rudland Star. My family has lived there for generations. It's also a wonderful place, food everywhere. If you get a chance, come visit me. They'll treat you to delicious food every day and you won't have the same dish for a month. Wow, that would be great, but I don't know when I'll have the chance. Imagining the countless delicacies, my mouth watered and I wished I could taste them right then. Haha, young man, don't be impatient. After the war is over, there will be plenty of opportunities. Alas, I wonder when it will end. As we spoke, the train slowly started moving again, but the combat alert status was not lifted. The train advanced through the no man's land at full speed under high alert for 4 days, encountering a total of 11 minefields. With 24 hours remaining before the train would exit the Teclaro no man's land, another minefield was discovered ahead. The mine-clearing robots began their routine operations methodically when suddenly an anomaly occurred. The mine-clearing robots sent to clear the mines suddenly lost contact. 6 o'clock, 12 missiles, distance 21,000, altitude 500, speed 1200 meters per second. On the combat control center's radar, 12 vicious red dots were rapidly approaching. Activate jamming radar, launch decoys. Initiate the camouflage system. At Wall's command, the Chungyun strategic transport train gradually faded away like snow under the sun, disappearing without a trace. The jamming signals successfully lured 6 missiles toward the decoys, while the remaining 6, equipped with the shadow lock radar system, accurately struck the last location where the train had vanished, leaving 6 shallow craters on the hard rocky ground. Target lost. Immediately maintain vigilance, and do not overlook any suspicious area. 6 fighter bombers soared over the concealing ridge, following the lead aircraft to hover above the impact point. Using it as a center, they continuously circled, climbed, and dove, tearing up every inch of earth with their cannons to confirm if anything lay hidden beneath. After 10 minutes of this relentless effort, they found nothing. It was not their fault. The airborne radar was now filled with static snowflakes, leaving them only visual observation to locate the target. Yet searching for a target in its camouflaged state across this vast wilderness was far harder than finding a needle in a haystack. The only clue was the dust stirred by the abnormal airflow from the moving object. The fighter bombers had clearly lost patience. The 6 aircraft formed a plum blossom pattern in the sky and ascended to higher altitudes. Approaching 1500 meters, the distance between the aircraft rapidly widened and 6 bombs were ejected from their bellies. Shortly after leaving the aircraft, the 6 bombs burst open like fireworks, splitting into countless smaller bombs. After 5 such splits, when they descended to less than 100 meters above the ground, the 6 bombs had transformed into a net covering 100 square kilometers. How beautiful. What are those fellows up to? Inside the dining car, my mood was far from the tension I felt when first entering the minefield in the no man's land. Perhaps it was because this attack had coincidentally freed me from the potato-peeling chore. Gazing through the window at the bomb clusters blossoming like flowers in the sky, I couldn't help but ask Sang Song curiously. In its camouflaged state, the train's external observation remained unaffected, though the colors of the scenery appeared slightly different from normal. How different? I can't quite explain it. Only by experiencing it firsthand can one sense it. Indeed, there is a slight difference. Damn, these guys don't have to go all out like this against us, dropping 6 net bombs at once. Are they trying to kill us, or what? Sang Song muttered to himself, seemingly ignoring my question as he watched the rain of bombs. Is that thing really that powerful? Isn't it just like a cluster bombs? Effective against infantry, sure, but will it work on our train? I vaguely recalled from my military history lessons in the village that such bombs, large ones splitting into countless smaller ones, had a specific name, but I couldn't remember it, so I just made one up. Using such bombs against this strategic train would likely be no more than a tickle. Kid, that's a whole different story. When the bombs fall, remember, don't touch any metal objects. Sang Song didn't elaborate, only gave a kind warning, looking even more nervous than I was. Attention, all departments, prepare for electrical shock protection. Wall wanted to accelerate the train out of the net anti-electronic bombs coverage, but doing so in its camouflage state would expose the train to the enemy for 30 seconds. Long enough for the 6 fighter bombers above to launch a fatal strike, not to mention potential ambushes from other aircraft or the minefield. Since evasion was impossible, a fight was inevitable. Endure a hit, take out the 6 aircraft above, and the battle would be manageable. Once the ones above were eliminated, the hidden ambushers would reveal themselves. All anti-air gunners, take your positions and select your targets. I don't demand a first strike kill, but you must bring down all 6. Good luck to all. As the rain of bombs neared the train's roof, I was astonished to see that the tiny projectiles were connected by fine metal wires. Damn, such strange bombs exist. Are they really that formidable? In disbelief, I stealthily extended my pinky finger to touch the metal support of the dining table. The moment it made contact, the carriage fell eerily silent. Just as I looked around to see what was happening, zzzt. A blue spark burst from the metal support, and a faint aroma of roasted meat wafted. Damn, this thing is electrified. Luckily, I pulled my hand back quickly, or my entire arm might have become like a roasted pig's trotter. Still, the tip of my pinky lost a layer of skin. Kid, didn't I tell you not to touch metal? How does it feel? Sang Song noticed my body jolt, and guessed what had happened. Still recovering from the electric shock's paralysis, I could only force a bitter smile at Chef Sang Song. The Chungyun strategic train shut down all power systems as the net bombs loomed overhead. Deprived of power, the train immediately exited its camouflaged state. Spotting the target, the 6 fighter bombers dove like eagles, swooping on prey, unleashing all onboard weapons in a fierce assault on the stationary train. Enduring the strike, several tongues of fire erupted from the train's roof, instantly blasting 4 of the 6 aircraft into midair explosions. The remaining 2 still dove recklessly, seemingly aiming for a mutual destruction, but were ultimately turned into exploding fireballs in the sky before crashing into the train. The smoke from the net bombs had not yet dissipated when the Chungyun, after the electrical surge, quickly restored power. Damage reports from all departments flooded into Wall. Many sensitive electronic devices were damaged, but fortunately not all were paralyzed. The camouflage system took the worst hit, requiring at least 2 hours of repairs to regain functionality. After shooting down the 6 fighter bombers, no other enemy targets were detected. Wall, who should have felt relieved, suddenly sensed he had been tricked. Yet he couldn't pinpoint exactly where the problem lay. Chief Wall, why haven't we departed yet? Prince Lancaster in his private carriage grew impatient with the prolonged halt and called to inquire. Your Highness, the train sustained considerable damage in the recent attack and requires repairs. Additionally, the minefield ahead has not been cleared. For your safety, so depart immediately. I must reach the Takahan Theater within 24 hours. Any further delay will turn it into enemy territory. Your Highness, I must ensure your safety. Major Wall, can't you see this is the enemy stalling for time? From the start of my inspection tour until now, how many air raids have we faced? Counting today's just 1. Where have the Federation's aerial hunters gone? They can't be on vacation. This can only mean they have a more critical operation. Therefore, I must reach the Takahan Theater in the shortest possible time. If the enemy wanted to destroy us, the sky would now be filled with warplanes, not this empty void, without even a cloud. Prince Lancaster was convinced that his timely arrival at the Takahan Theater would avert the impending crisis there. Your Highness, forgive my incompetence, but the train in its current state cannot reach Takahan within 24 hours. Please see this. This is the minefield map sent back by the mine-clearing robot before it lost contact. Wall, somewhat irritated, still tried to explain displaying an electronic minefield map via the onboard network before Prince Lancaster. All are proximity mines. Seeing the train's path completely blocked by dense clusters of purple-orange lights, Prince Lancaster couldn't help but gasp inwardly. And that was not all. Your Highness, if we must force our way through the minefield, the train can only slow down to standard speed to pass safely. That would take at least 30 more hours. Wall took a deep breath, suppressing the fire in his heart, and continued. Are you afraid of capsizing? Then let's do this. Activate the spare locomotive and split up. I've looked at the map. There are at least 2 relatively safe routes, the plain on the left and this river valley on the right. I plan to take the valley. You can choose whichever you want, but please reach the Takahan war zone as quickly as possible. Lonsite scrutinized the map thoroughly before making his decision. Reducing the length of the magnetic train would significantly improve its stability during operation, making it far less likely to overturn even if struck by a violent explosion. Your Highness, this won't do. I must be responsible for your safety. Say no more. It's settled. The fleet of Yun trains split into two. The spare locomotive hauling 4 carriages carrying Prince Lonside and his entourage raced away. Not long after, a dense series of explosions, rumbling, roaring, and booming, rolled in from afar. Captain, what should we do? How many men can we still call upon? All available have been deployed. If we squeeze, we can pull 2 more from the dining car. Then assign them to the anti-aircraft positions and strengthen air defense. Set off. Full speed ahead. We'll break through via the other route. Captain, we should fix the camouflage system first before leaving. No need. Perhaps this will make His Highness a bit safer. Unfortunately, we don't have to bring 5 extra carriages of reinforcements to the Takahan war zone, or it would have been a real headache. The Yun train running at full speed charged into the minefield across the flat plain. The triggered mines swarmed around it, erupting into a sea of fire. The strategic transport train had become little more than a minesweeper. The train pitched and tossed like a small boat in a raging storm, sometimes thrown up, sometimes dropped down, and the slightest misstep would be swallowed by the flames. General James Hott looked at the battle report in his hand, a smug smile spreading across his face. Our guests have split into 2 groups. James Hott handed the report to General Lloyd. Oh, you really called it? Then let's entertain them at 2 tables. General Lloyd glanced at it and said, do you want me to divert some forces to assist? No need. You should focus on executing your plan. We can't afford to lose now. Lloyd, you're too cautious. That's both your strength and your weakness. Hott, you're too confident. That's both your strength and your weakness. Huh. So we are the ultimate partners. By the way, was the distress signal sent on behalf of that prince? Sent. The moment they lost power, we sent it. Now, under the jamming of our electronic warfare units, no information can get out of the Takerlow no man's land. Excellent. Find a way to transmit this too. It was an image captured by a reconnaissance satellite, a fighter bomber exploding into a fireball near a military train. No matter how you looked at that image, it clearly showed a military train under fierce attack, desperately defending itself. Hopefully it will draw out both of Salva's mobile armored battalions. Then your side will be too dangerous. It doesn't matter. Victory or defeat, there won't have much impact on the overall situation, and the Night Hawk Brigade is handling the mission. They wouldn't want anyone's help anyway. The key is your side. If we win, we can turn the tide. If we lose, the Federation is finished. Howard, you're being too pessimistic. Perhaps. What? The Prince's special train under attack. The location seems to be in the Takerlow no man's land. Damn it, what do you mean seems? I want the exact location, Lieutenant General Salva, the Imperial commander of the Takahan war zone, was already furious over the frequent attacks in the area, and his subordinates' incompetence only added to his rage. Report. An intelligence officer shouted as he burst into the command post, nearly knocking over an officer who was about to leave. What is it? Lieutenant General Salva shot a glare at the reckless officer. General, the intelligence section intercepted some signals from enemy reconnaissance satellites. Please take a look. The officer quickly reported. That's right. It's the Yun, the Prince's special train. Has the intelligence section analyzed the specific location? Can we contact the military train? Taking the documents from the officer, Salva quickly identified the attacked Prince's special train from one of the images. The intelligence section estimates it's in the Takerlow no man's land near the upper reaches of the Mangta River, close to the Karisi Plain, still at least 8,000 kilometers from Takahan. We've been unable to establish contact. Jamming is too severe. Damn it, they sure know how to pick a time. George, immediately pass my order. The 3rd and 6th Mobile Armored Battalions, along with the 37th Infantry Battalion, are to advance toward the no man's land, targeting the area near the upper Mangta River, close to the Karisi Plain. At all costs, find the Prince's special train and ensure His Highness' safety. Also report this situation to the Hailong Star Command headquarters and demand immediate reinforcements. Immediately. General, this is unwise. If the enemy attacks us now, the Takahan war zone will be in danger, the intelligence officer warned, as all recent intelligence indicated that the Federation was about to launch a large-scale counteroffensive in the Takahan theater. I know, but we can retake a lost theater. If anything happens to the Prince, both you and I are finished for good. The order had already been delivered. The intelligence officer hesitated for a moment as if wanting to say something, but ultimately gave up, because General Salva was right. Yet if the Takahan war zone were truly lost, that Prince might be the first to not forgive the general, even if the general managed to rescue him from his predicament. Kid, got it. Got it. The pedals on the floor are the rudders. Step left to turn left, step right to turn right. Elevation is behind the gun mount. Push up or pull down to adjust the firing angle. Aim the targeting ring at the target and fire. The black button is the trigger. The yellow button is auto aim, green is full auto, and red is emergency ejection. Did I get that right? Haha, the kid is teachable. Make sure you know it well, don't get flustered. And conserve ammunition. Got it, old man. Sitting in the efficient anti-aircraft turret on top of the car, I familiarized myself with the controls while listening to Sang Song's tireless nagging through the communicator, all while enduring the train's violent jolts. Damn, this place is not fit for humans. Fortunately, the energy shield emitted by the locomotive absorbed most of the explosion shocks, and there were no air raids, so for now, it was relatively safe. But good luck never lasts forever. After the train had raced for 12 hours, and was about to slow down for a brief rest, the air raid siren suddenly blared. Enemy aircraft. Bearing 1 distance, 55,000 altitude, 3,000 speed, 320 approaching our position. All anti-aircraft positions stay alert and intercept. Hey Senior Sangsong, intercept what? My mind went blank. I could barely tell north from south. You idiot. Intercept the missiles that leak through, of course. Missiles that leak through, eh? Watch your 4 o'clock. 2 missiles. Fire now, take them down. What the hell? They really come as soon as you mention them. I stomped on the rudder pedals, twisting the turret's view, desperately searching for the targets. No sooner had I adjusted the angle than the scene before my eyes startled me. There were far more than 2 missiles, the sky was swarming with them like locusts. Without taking aim, I unleashed a wild barrage at the chaotic cluster of missiles. Idiot, where are you shooting? Aim before you fire, and don't waste ammunition on missiles that have already veered off target, came Samson's scolding voice through the communicator. A seasoned veteran could judge a missile's approximate landing point by its trajectory, and thus determine its target, but to a green recruit, every missile seemed to be coming straight for him. Whether it was sheer luck or the sheer density of the missiles after that wild sweep, I actually managed to blow quite a few up. I just didn't know if those 2 missiles Samson mentioned were among them. At least so far none had struck the train. While busy dealing with the missiles, enemy aircraft swooped down over the train, beginning their dive attacks. They're humanoid mechs. Quickly organize and intercept. Don't let them get close. Amid the cacophony of voices in the communicator, someone shouted hoarsely. 20 anti-aircraft guns formed layers of fire nets, desperately fending off the dive attacks of the assault mecha squad. The speeding train suddenly decelerated, and the carriages behind the locomotive split apart and flattened out. 6 heavy combat mechs, which had been on standby for some time, rose into the air one after another to join the interception. The Chungyun strategic transport train had to deploy its most formidable defensive force and its last line of defense. Ammunition. Ammunition. I'm out of ammunition. Someone get me ammunition. I screamed into the communicator, hoping someone would hear and bring me ammunition. Though Samson occasionally reminded me to conserve it, I had still used it all up far too early. Fortunately, I was assigned to the rearmost turret at the tail, so it didn't affect the train's overall defense too much. It just made things tough for the poor guy controlling the other tail turret, who had to cover both sides alone, while I could only stand by helplessly. An assault mech spotted this rare defensive gap, and the train adjusted its flight posture slightly and swung its plasma wave blade toward the tail. It seemed its ammunition was also running low. By now the train, smoking from multiple hits, could only slow down. There was no hope of accelerating to evade. As the gleaming blade was about to fall on my head, survival instinct drove me to hit the emergency ejection button without hesitation. With a bang, the ejection seat shot me out like a pellet. Caught off guard, the attacking mech, mistaking it for some new weapon, quickly raised its arm to block. Luckily, I was sturdy enough, after being slammed to the ground by the assault mech's mechanical arm, I only coughed up a couple of mouthfuls of blood. The intense pain cleared my mind somewhat. The battle still raged, with stray bullets flying everywhere. To avoid dying in vain, I endured the pain, rolled and crawled into the thick undergrowth. I don't know how long passed before the trembling of the earth roused me from my stupor. This was a forest of towering trees. Could some monster be coming here to forage? After falling from the train, I had lain in the grass for only a short while before getting up. Instinct told me that if I didn't get out of this godforsaken place quickly, the consequences would be dire. The battle had moved away with the train, and occasionally 1 or 2 assault mechs trailing smoke would streak past from the nearby sky, fleeing the battlefield. It seemed the enemy had also suffered heavy losses. I had no idea how the train was faring now. The communicator was utterly silent. I could only follow the trail the train had left across the wilderness and press forward. After dragging my weary body with great effort into this forest, I had just rested a moment when I was woken up. Sigh, there's just no justice. I climbed a tree with dense foliage. Peering through the gaps in the leaves, I vaguely caught the glint of metal in the distant woodland. It was a humanoid mech. While this was a lucky break, I wasn't about to let a gift like this slip away. Don't think you're so great just because you're piloting that hunk of metal. You gave me a hard time earlier. Now it's my turn to mess with you. I had plenty of experience dealing with these machines in the forest. When I was a kid, I often stole agricultural humanoid mechs and would be chased all over the mountains by people in mechs. From then on, I figured out ways to deal with those pursuing mechs in the woods. Eventually, no one dared to chase me into the forest anymore, because all those pursuing mechs ended up as my trophies, which I later dismantled into scrap. Since I couldn't drive them, I might as well take them apart for fun. I quickly set up a trap in the woods and deliberately created suspicious noises to lure that humanoid mech over. Wow, it's really beautiful. Up close, the mech's silver-gray body had sleek lines, and with its mounted weapons it looked far more imposing than the agricultural mechs back in the village. I wondered if the mechs that attacked our train were the same as this one. During the battle, I hadn't had a chance to admire them properly. I was too busy fighting. If I'd known there were such fine machines out there, I probably would have enlisted long ago. The unsuspecting humanoid mech stepped into the trap without realizing it. It stood there turning its metal head to scan the surroundings as if trying to figure out the source of the earlier noise. After a moment of looking and finding nothing, it continued moving forward. I picked up a wooden club I had made from a broken branch and quietly followed from behind. The trap I set was simple. I just found a few vines and made some loops. Stepping on them wouldn't trigger them immediately. The vines would wrap around the mech's feet, and as it moved, get caught in the joints of its legs, eventually causing abnormal movement. At that point, the pilot still wouldn't realize it was a trap. They'd just think they were accidentally tangled in vines. Then they'd try to maneuver the mech to break free. But it wouldn't be that easy. The vines were specially chosen, and their placement was deliberate. Without pulling up a few trees, it would be hard to break free. Moreover, the vines were already stuck in the joints, so even if they did break free, the mech's movement would still be affected. The mech in front of me had stopped. It seemed the pilot had realized his feet were tangled. He immediately halted the mech, climbed out of the cockpit, and quickly cut the entwined vines. Now all he had to do was clear the vines stuck in the joints. He seemed like a smart one. Since trying to break free by brute force would only make the stuck vines harder to deal with, he chose the right approach. If I hadn't been lurking nearby, his approach would indeed have been very correct. But now it was undoubtedly foolish and fake. Taking advantage of the pilot who had taken off his helmet and was bending down to check the condition of the mech's leg joints, I swung my wooden club and struck him hard. I knocked the pilot of the humanoid mecha unconscious, not bothering to check if he was alive or dead. However, based on my years of brawling experience, that guy wouldn't die, but would remain unconscious for a long time. Long enough for me to pilot this mecha and catch up with my comrades. I climbed into the cockpit and found that the system was still running. What a stroke of luck. This saved me the trouble of dealing with the identity recognition system. For agricultural models, a single punch would do the trick. I wondered if military ones were just as responsive. I'd have to try it someday if I got the chance. Right now, escape was the priority, so I'd avoid any unnecessary risks. But fate had other plans. The moment I sat down in the cockpit, a voice roared from the communicator, "Flying Eagle 6, Flying Eagle 6. Where the hell have you been? Answer me now. What's the matter?" I hesitated for a moment, then connected the communicator and replied. Since it was a non-visual communicator, I could bluff my way through. I wasn't about to give up what I had just acquired. "Where the hell were you just now? Why didn't you answer?" "Oh, I had a minor issue with my foot. Got tangled in some vines. I got out to fix it and just got back." "What's up?" "Humph. Damn it, you always wander off on your own. Next time, give a heads up first. We're heading back. Follow me and don't fall behind." From the tone of the speaker, it seemed the guy I had knocked out was a real loner. No sooner had the words faded than I saw a humanoid mecha less than 20 meters away shoot into the sky. Damn, that was close. If that guy had come over, I would have been finished. Good news, the enemy's two-pronged train convoy. One was heavily damaged, the other destroyed. General James Holt glanced at the latest battle report handed over by the orderly and said, "Oh, which route's train?" Boyd raised an eyebrow and asked the one going through the valley. "And the one that was heavily damaged. It was rescued. Guess how many reinforcements Salva sent? 2 mobile armor battalions. Plus an infantry battalion. It seems that Prince is really important to Salva. He's even willing to risk his own life. How's your end going?" "Very smoothly. All the infiltration units have reached their designated positions." "Then why haven't you closed?" "I wanted to savor the praise predicament a little longer. By the way, should the returning Night Eagle Brigade withdraw directly to your sector, or?" General James Holt put down the battle report, poured himself a cup of tea, and leisurely began to savor it. "No need. Let them stay in your theater as a strategic reserve. The Empire's 4th and 11th armies, though weakened by your nibbling, are still formidable. A lean camel is still bigger than a horse. I know that, and you know that." Boyd stood up and paced a few steps in the room. "Huh, that's true. That gives me even more confidence to annihilate the Empire's 4th and 11th armies. Orderly, immediately relay my order, commence the general offensive." General James Holt smiled as he issued the order for the final assault. "Old friend, don't be too boastful. Don't bite off more than you can chew. If you can destroy 80 of their combat strength, that's enough. Adapt to the situation as it unfolds. I still need to use our current forces to keep the Empire at bay for another 10 days or so. No problem. After this battle, the Empire will be subdued for at least 10 days. If only our space fleet could act faster. Otherwise, sigh. Yes, otherwise our efforts would be in vain. Enough of that. Are you really going to send that Night Eagle Brigade commander to court-martial? If he hadn't disobeyed orders and made a rash move allowing the Empire to exploit the opportunity and breach the Angel defense line, Angel wouldn't have fallen so quickly. You know I've always opposed this counterattack plan, and now I have no choice but to support you. Speaking of which, if Angel were still in our hands, the encirclement of the Fourth Army might not have gone so smoothly. True, but exposing our strength to the enemy is not a good thing. You're temporarily keeping the Night Eagle Brigade here to give Kinesis more chances to atone for his mistakes, aren't you? General James Holt guessed Oid's intention. That kid is a rare military talent, but he's too impulsive. Even more reckless than you were when you were young. Oid said regretfully. Hey, see that? The officers are down there welcoming us. Don't flatter yourself. They're here to see if we're dead. This battle was brutal for our brigade. We lost so many brothers just to take out a train. Hey, if the officers heard you say that, they'd charge you with undermining morale. I'm speaking the truth. What's there to fear? But come to think of it, thank goodness our squad was assigned to clean up the battlefield. Otherwise, at least half of us would be saying bye-bye. Damn, how did a coward like you become a mecha pilot? You might as well just retire. You're the one who's not afraid of death. If you're not afraid, why don't you just dive down right now? Spit. Watch your mouth, or ill. Hey, Captain, I'm picking up a distress signal. It's Flying Eagle 6. You must be hearing things. Flying Eagle 6 is right behind us, isn't he? Captain, I heard it. Act accordingly. He's trying to run. Stop him. The pilot I had knocked out regained consciousness sooner than I expected. As soon as I heard my identity exposed over the communicator, I hurriedly maneuvered the mecha-numbered Flying Eagle 6 to turn around. But since I hadn't managed to increase the distance, the nearest Flying Eagle 5 turned and collided with me. The members of the Flying Eagle squad were very considerate of their comrades during flight. Whenever I fell too far behind, they would slow down or circle to close the gap, never giving me a chance to escape. As a result, I had no choice but to follow them all the way into the Federation's war zone. Although the control system of the military humanoid mecha was similar to that of the agricultural model, maintaining flight attitude already required all my effort, let alone engaging in aerial combat. Flying Eagle 5 hadn't expected that the guy who dared to steal their mecha would be such a novice. The two colliding mechas lost balance and tumbled downward, plummeting rapidly. Enemy air raid. Protect the two generals immediately. Amid the sudden air raid siren, a group of bodyguards frantically grabbed the two still stunned generals and rushed them out. What's going on? How did enemy aircraft get here? No way, we had absolute air superiority in this area. How could there be an enemy air raid? General James Holt was baffled. General, the situation is still unclear, but the air raid is real. The just withdrawn Night Eagle Brigade's Flying Eagle squad is intercepting. An officer replied hastily. However, before the group could make it out of the command post, a loud crash. Boom. Something slammed into the roof, followed by a rumble. As the entire command post collapsed in the ensuing explosion, dust engulfed everyone. A soldier rushed in and reported, General, the situation is still unclear, but the air raid is real. The just returned Night Eagle Brigade's Flying Eagle squad is engaging. But before the group could escape the command post, a deafening crash. Boom. Something struck the roof, and then a rumble. As the entire building collapsed in a chain of explosions. The swirling dust swallowed everyone. The Qingyu and its carriages, still trailing wisps of smoke, slowly pulled into the supply depot the Empire had established in the Takahan Theater. Several repair vehicles already waiting on standby swarmed forward, some to mend the damages, others to replenish supplies, in a flurry of bustling activity. Before the train had even fully stopped, Wall leaped off and dashed straight to the depot's dispatch office, grabbing a dispatcher and shouting, "Is there any news of the prince? Has the prince's special train already passed through here?" "No. Aren't you the special train of Prince Lank?" The dispatcher was startled. "There's another one. Any news of it?" Wall shook the man twice, trying to rattle his wits into clarity. Another one. That can't be." The bewildered dispatcher grew even more confused. "The prince took another route. He separated from us. Is there any word from them?" Wall's patience was at its breaking point. If he didn't get a proper answer soon, he would surely throttle the poor wretch before him. "No news yet. Major, please calm down." Fortunately, someone nearby interjected at the right moment. Though the answer wasn't what had hoped for, it at least saved the life of the poor dispatcher, who still had no clue what was happening. Wall released the dispatcher and swept his gaze around, quickly locating the one who had interrupted. He was about to demand why this man dared to cut in during an officer's inquiry when he caught sight of the man's insignia. A lieutenant colonel. Major Wall, commander of the strategic transport train Shengyun. And Wall suppressed his temper and saluted. Lieutenant Colonel Lemoix, commanding officer of Supply Depot Alpha 7 in the Takahan Theater. If you have any questions, direct them to me. Please don't interfere with my men's work. The enemy is attacking. Every minute of delay here could cause incalculable losses at the front. The lieutenant colonel returned the salute politely. "Oh, very well. Can you help me contact General Sarva? All the communications on our train have been reduced to scrap." "Certainly. Follow me." Scissors, hemostat, scalpel. Yunya carefully stitched up the wound and let out a long sigh of relief. At last she had finished treating all the wounded. Taking the handkerchief handed to her by her assistant, Yunya wiped the sweat from her face and stepped out of the operating room. The Chongyun had nearly been destroyed on this run. Only one heavy mecha from the squad had returned, and just 3 of the anti-aircraft turrets on the roof were still barely functional. 21 crew members, including the heavy mecha squad, had been killed, 6 were severely wounded, 2 lightly injured, and 1 was missing. Combat losses had exceeded half the crew. If not for the mecha battalion that had come to their rescue, the Chongyun would have been wiped from the Empire's roster. That chubby kid must be the missing one who I heard. He was manning the rear anti-aircraft turret. And the rear of the train was the most heavily damaged area, with virtually no chance of escape. Sigh. I shouldn't have been so harsh on that kid. If he's turned into a vengeful spirit out of spite, he'll be in for trouble. A bitter smile curled at the corner of Yunya's lips. Bang, bang, bang. Doctor, is there a doctor on board? The sound of pounding and shouting from outside the carriage roused Yunya from her thoughts. Yunya walked to the nearest door and looked out. An unfamiliar young nurse stood anxiously beside the train. What's the matter? The doctor, Yunya said, leaning against the doorframe. Oh, thank goodness. The front just sent down many wounded and our doctors are overwhelmed. Could you come and help? Well, Xiaofei, stay here and watch over the wounded. Contact me on this if anything happens. I'll go take a look. Yunya pointed to the communicator on her ear and said to her assistant. Could your nurse come along too? The young nurse was pushing her luck. Yunya frowned, about to say something, but was interrupted. Yunya, both of you go together. The speaker was Sanson, both hands wrapped in gauze, with Captain Locke standing behind him supporting his back. Why are you up? Are you trying to get yourself killed? Get back to bed or no one can save your hands. Yunya shouted at Sanson. Don't be so fierce, girl. I'm the only one who can walk, so they sent me as a representative. Don't worry about us, if our wounds are fine now. Fine my ass. I order you to get back to bed immediately. I don't care if you live or die. Yunya was furious. Captain Locke, keep an eye on those men. Check their temperature and blood pressure every 2 hours and report to me. Xiaofei, let's go. Yunya pulled Xiaofei and jumped off the train, storming off in a huff. Hey, aren't you going to lead the way? Locke gestured to the unknown young nurse. Oh, you're a captain. She's a second lieutenant. How dare she? The young nurse recovered from her shock. Huh. On our train, we don't pay attention to rank. Go on, hurry. Though Locke was bothered by Yunya's attitude as a second lieutenant, he made up an excuse. Thank you all. My name is Yi Wuxin. Please feel free to visit our medical team anytime. Thank you. The young nurse called out repeatedly as she ran after Yunya. Hey, Yunya, where are you going? Just as they reached the halfway point, the 3 were stopped by Major Wall returning from the dispatch office. Commander, a batch of wounded has just come down from the front. I want to go check on them. And the ones on the train. I've already treated them. They won't worsen unless something unexpected happens. All right, go ahead. Stay in touch. Wall glanced at Yunya, then at the unfamiliar young nurse hiding behind her, whose eyes were full of anxiety and hope. He said no more. Led by Yi Wuxin, the group soon arrived at the medical battalion station. The situation on the ground was even worse than anticipated. A vast open space of several hundred square meters was filled with the wounded, and in the distance battlefield ambulances were continuously bringing in more. At the edge of the camp lay several stretchers covered with white sheets. From the corner of a white uniform visible beneath the cloth, Yunya could tell they had once been medics, but now they could no longer help the wounded, killed by stray bullets. Seeing Yunya's gaze linger on those stretchers, Yi Wuxin murmured beside her. All right, let's get to work. There are still many people waiting for us to save. Yunya gently patted Yi Wuxin's shoulder and said, What? Retreat. But General Sarva just told us to stand by. Sorry, Major, that's the latest order we've received. It's also the final order. Then what about Prince Lancaster? Major Wall had barely returned to the train when a messenger from Lieutenant Colonel Lemoix arrived, bringing news of the impending retreat. Faced with Major Wall's question, the messenger had no answer. His duty was merely to deliver the order. The messenger shrugged helplessly and turned to leave. He still had to relay the command to other units. As far as he knew, many troops and command posts had already lost radio contact. At some point, stray bullets falling from the sky grew denser. The routed soldiers retreating from the front had formed a long, winding dragon moving toward the rear of the Takahan Theater. The situation looked utterly dire. Locke, contact Second Lieutenant Yun. Tell them to return immediately. We're retreating. Wall called out to Locke and gave the order. Retreat. Aren't we waiting for that prince? Locke asked, not out of concern for the prince, but merely out of slight surprise. General Sarva has sent 3 battalions to search. If Lancaster is still alive, they'll get him to safety. Wall said with a hint of reluctance. Commander, I can't reach Second Lieutenant Yun. Go yourself. You must find them. Where is your communicator? The medical camp of Outpost Alpha 7 was easy to find. Locke spotted Yunya amidst the wounded, grabbed her, and demanded abruptly. It's here. Huh. Oh, it must have been knocked off by shrapnel. Why are you here? If you're here, lend a hand. Dazed and overwhelmed, Yunya reached for the communicator on her helmet, only to find it gone. I came to get you back. We're retreating. Locke pulled Yunya aside. Retreat. What about these wounded? Someone will take care of them. What did you say? Nothing. He'll contact the vehicle commander for you. Locke knew it was unrealistic to expect Yunya to abandon the wounded, and he himself couldn't bear to leave his comrades behind, even strangers. What? She won't leave. Drag her back. Commander, that's not good. And there are 2 of them. Locke knew his own troubles well. How are the wounded? Hard to say. There are too many. It looks like the medical camp is also evacuating, but... Alright. Let her send the wounded who can't be transported in time to the train. Ah yes. Thank you, Commander. Stop talking nonsense and go. Thank you, Major Wall. Hearing the thanks behind him, Commander Wall turned to see Lieutenant Colonel Lemesith, the highest commander of Outpost Alpha 7. Lieutenant Colonel Lemesith, what brings you here? Why thank me? I was worried about transporting the wounded. You know the battle is fierce. I can't evacuate all the wounded on my own, so... This is what should be done. I also need to trouble you to find 2 spare train cars. I'm afraid my space won't be in. No problem. I noticed you have few anti-aircraft turrets left, so I took the liberty of bringing some heavy machine guns. Tell your men where to install them. They'll stay with you too. They're not as elite as your troops, but better than nothing. Thank you. I should be the one saying that. I should too. Huh. In this time of Empire's peril, let's skip the pleasantries. Alas, the defeat was too swift. Lieutenant Colonel Lemesith straightened his cap, saluted Wall, and without waiting for a return salute, turned and stepped off the train. Hurry, hurry. First load the critically wounded. Bury the fallen on the spot. Captain Locke methodically directed the loading of the wounded. Out of the corner of his eye he saw Yunya, who was giving emergency treatment, being pushed to the ground. Wondering what had happened, Locke ran over and immediately understood. Don't touch him. He's alive, alive. A wounded soldier with a bandaged head clutching half a corpse howled and knocked down everyone who tried to take the body from his arms. Locke approached, and without a word slapped the soldier across the face. Bastard. He's dead, dead, dead. He's dead, and you won't let him rest. You're a bastard. Son of a bitch, he'll kill you. The slapped soldier leaped up and lunged at Locke. Locke knocked him unconscious with a single punch. Bury him and put him on the train. Locke pointed at the fallen corpse and the unconscious soldiers, speaking to the stunned medical staff nearby. Are you crazy? How can you treat a wounded man like that? If anything happens to him, can you take responsibility? Regaining her senses, Yunya kicked the unprepared Locke to the ground. Ouch. Don't you think that was the best way? I'm not going to argue with you. Hurry up and get the wounded on the train. Xiaofei, come with me. Yunya led Xiaofei toward the distant road. TSK. That girl has no respect for her superior. Hey, where are you going now? Locke got up, wincing. Someone's collapsed over there. Well, check it out. Yunya replied without looking back. Be quick. Time is running out. Locke wanted to follow, but the wounded soldier was too heavy for the 2 nurses to lift, so he stayed to help. In the twilight, the twin suns of Hadron gradually sank below the horizon. As night fell, I became even more disoriented. Truth be told, from the moment I sat in the cockpit of Eagle 6, I had no sense of direction. I thought nightfall would help. At least I could navigate by the stars. But now that the stars were out, I realized I had no idea which constellation indicated which direction on Hadron. So I just picked a star and flew toward it, planning to continue until the fuel ran out. Because I didn't know how to land. Besides, there were pursuers behind me, and I had no idea when I could shake them off. The warning beep sounded again, signaling that Eagle 6 was locked by missiles. Helpless, I adjusted the craft's attitude, making it spin like a top and fly in an arc, a maneuver I had just learned. Counterattack. Sorry, I was out of ammo again. When I rammed Eagle 5 into some unknown building's roof, I had wasted most of my ammunition by randomly pressing buttons. Years later, when I learned that the building destroyed by that random barrage was the Federal Army's Takahan Frontline Command, I was speechless with shock. In the chaos, I managed to shake off Eagle 5. When I stood Eagle 6 upright, I accidentally triggered the afterburner. The humanoid craft instantly shot into the sky, brushing past several other interceptors that were slowing to land, and escaped. But one side was well-trained, and the other was just a lucky kid, so I was soon caught up again. After firing all my remaining ammo at the pursuers, all I could do was run. The memory of tumbling through the air after colliding with Eagle 5 was still vivid, a dizzying, thrilling experience. While fleeing, I tried to recreate that feeling. After a few attempts, I developed this spiraling flight pattern. I found it effective for dodging attacks, but against missiles, timing was crucial. Once I mistimed it, and now Eagle 6 only had one leg left. Frustrated by my inability to fight back, I scanned the cockpit for the umpteenth time, and finally spotted a button covered by a translucent cap. That must be the trigger for a powerful weapon too dangerous for casual use, hence the cover. Keep chasing, see how you die. I smashed the cap with a punch and viciously pressed the orange button beneath it. Self-destruct system activated. System will self-destruct in 20 seconds. Please evacuate the cockpit. Self-destruct system activated. System will self-destruct in 20 seconds. Please evacuate the cockpit. Self-destruct. Damn, why does this thing exist? A rookie is a rookie, not even knowing about the self-destruct device. Sigh. In the dark of night, two snipers lay prone in their carefully chosen positions, awaiting the arrival of their prey. Yet after hours of ambush, they had not seen so much as a bird. Instead, they were thoroughly chilled by the cold mist rising in the night. Hey, Tony, still awake? Han Jerry broke the silence, unable to contain himself. Yeah, in this lousy place, even sleep won't come, came a weary reply through the earpiece. Are you sure those guys are hiding up there? The sniper called Tony had only entered his position after dark and was unclear on the enemy situation. Of course, I saw with my own eyes during the day that the brothers in our platoon chased them up there. Why not just attack directly? Before dark, a few brothers who thought the same way are now lying in the grass not far ahead of you. There's also a wrecked tank over there. If you think you can take that high ground alone, I'd be happy to provide covering fire. Han Jerry's words dripped with sarcasm. Tony, no fool, retorted, TCH. You might as well ask me to die. But if you could get me a mech, I'd take it down without a second thought. Dream on. I'd like a mech myself, at least I wouldn't be freezing out here, said Han Jerry. Hey, now that you mention it, have you noticed something? Tony suddenly asked Han Jerry, what's up? Han Jerry replied as if nothing unusual was afoot. Our mech unit. Before the battle, didn't the commander say we'd get mech support at any moment? But it's been so long, and we haven't heard a peep from them. Could something have happened? Tony said worriedly. Huh, you've asked the right person. Let me tell you an inside secret. Our general headquarters was attacked, and we've lost contact. Those officers are all— Han Jerry spoke with feigned mystery. Really? You're kidding, right? Tony couldn't believe it. If their own base had been taken, weren't they just sitting here waiting to die? Who's kidding you? I heard it with my own ears right outside the battalion commander's command post. Why else wouldn't we see our mechs? It's because all those guys were called back for reinforcements. Han Jerry's account seemed plausible enough. But Tony stuck to his judgment, TCH. Who are you trying to fool? If that were the case, those Empire bastards would be chasing us all over the place. How could we be the ones chasing them? Hey, believe what you want. This battlefield stuff is beyond you and me. I'll watch out. Look up, something's falling from the sky. Han Jerry suddenly spotted a target. In the night sky, a parachute drifted down unsteadily under the starlight. Hey, could it be one of ours? One of ours. Doesn't look like it. Our guys always come out in a group, and if someone gets shot down, the others only leave after confirming the landing site. A lone one like this must be from the Empire. Why, idiot, don't you know what air superiority means? Right now the advantage is on our side. So, I won't waste more words with you. He's mine. Maybe you'll get a nice souvenir. What makes him yours? Whoever hits him gets him. Damn, with your lousy marksmanship you think you can compete with me. Your shooting isn't any better. As the two snipers argued, their rifles flashed in unison and two streaks of light sped toward the figure dangling beneath the parachute. In the final 3 seconds of the self-destruct system's countdown, I still couldn't think of a way to safely escape the cockpit. It was several thousand meters up. Jumping out would mean certain death. Yet the automatic ejection system activated on its own, blasting me and my seat out of the cockpit. The humanoid mech exploded into a fireball in midair, its fragments raining down from the sky. In the darkness, the pursuers following close behind apparently mistook me for just another piece of debris. They circled the area where the mech had detonated twice before turning back. I wondered if they ever figured out how I was shot down, and those hunting me probably didn't bother. If they knew I had accidentally pressed the self-destruct button, they'd surely die laughing. The wind roared in my ears. I thought I'd hit the ground like a rock and shatter, but then I heard a soft pop from the seat still strapped to me. A parachute bloomed above my head, and my descent slowed immediately. Wow, too bad it's night. If it were daytime, the view from up here would be spectacular. A hint of regret flickered in my heart as I cheated death. The night wind carried me and my parachute toward the pitch-black earth. Unbeknownst to me, the wind was steering me toward the Takahan war zone. Once our empire's occupied territory, now a chaotic battlefield. The destruction of the Federation's Takahan frontline headquarters threw the meticulously planned annihilation operation into disarray. Numerous attacking units suddenly lost contact with command. Some halted their assault to await orders, others pressed on recklessly and fired on their own allies. Some hastily retreated to guard against unforeseen threats, and still others turned back to head for the headquarters for rescue. Fortunately, a backup command system was quickly activated to stem the chaos and sustain the offensive. But the optimal chance to destroy the enemy had already been lost, and the planned decisive battle degenerated into a melee. If not for General Sarver of the Empire, who had no heart for battle and hastily withdrew, the final outcome would have been uncertain. The dark earth showed not a single glimmer of light, like the gaping maw of a beast ready to devour me. Just as I was about to land, 2 flashes erupted in the darkness, and 2 low gunshots pierced the silent night. I felt a sudden lightness. Looking up, I saw that many of the parachute lines on both sides had been severed by something. I tried to do something to save myself, but the remaining lines couldn't bear my weight and snapped all at once. Whether those 2 snipers' aim was too precise or too poor, I couldn't tell. In In the dark night after the 2 gunshots, the figure beneath the parachute crashed to the ground with a cry of agony. I got him. He'll go check it out. You keep an eye on that high ground, Han Jerry ordered Tony in a commanding tone. Got it, Sergeant Han Jerry. Careful. Don't let the souvenir bite your teeth off, Tony replied sourly, his rank lower than Han Jerry's, leaving him no choice but to obey. Don't be so bitter, okay? If I find something good, well, split it evenly. That's more like it. Hey, Han Jerry, did you find something good? Hey, Han Jerry. Answer me. Han Jerry. He's dead. You're next, a cold, unfamiliar voice replied from the communicator. I snapped the neck of the man who came to investigate, for I despise those who ambush me. Another sniper, sensing the dire situation, was about to retreat. As he rose, a burst of fire erupted from the high ground to his left front. He hastily threw himself to the ground, but it was too late. The projectile tore into his body, the immense force hurling his nearly severed torso into an unnatural twist midair before it crashed to the ground. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. It seemed that those on the high ground might be allies. I picked up the weapon of the sniper I had eliminated and cautiously crept toward the unknown small hill ahead. Halt! Who are you? A voice rang out from the grass on the hillside in the darkness, sounding somewhat familiar and pleasant to the ear. Don't shoot. I am Corporal Dugu Zhan from the Imperial Strategic Train Xinyan. I mean no harm. As I stated my identity, I prepared myself to surrender. Having been in the military for less than 10 days, the Empire and the Federation seemed much alike to me, so I couldn't be sure if the 2 snipers I had just killed were actually Imperial soldiers. Thus, if the situation turned unfavorable, I would surrender. Partly because I was too exhausted to run any further, and partly because in my mind joining the army was merely a means to earn a living, so it didn't matter which side I was on. If absolutely necessary, I could at least use the weapon in my hand to drag a few down with me. But I had no idea how to operate it. Dugu Zhan. Aren't you that little chubby guy? The voice responded with surprise. You? Dr. Yun. What are you doing here? At that moment, I suddenly recalled who owned that melodious voice. Suppressing the urge to turn and flee, I asked, my voice trembling. What are you doing here? Yunya asked simultaneously. Well, I was carried here by the wind. It was hard to explain how I ended up here, as I was utterly confused myself. Why of all places did I have to stumble upon this terrifying female military doctor? Enemy. Follow me. Although Yunya didn't understand what Dugu Zhan meant, this was not the time for questions. The brief skirmish had attracted new enemies. In the darkness, the distant sound of clanking armor drifted with the wind. Through her night vision device, Yunya spotted a phantom rat, light mech, cautiously approaching the high ground under the cover of night. This light mech, known for its high mobility and excellent concealment, was a favorite among Federation scouts. Due to payload limitations, it lacked heavy firepower, equipped only with a standard mech electromagnetic rifle or similar light weaponry. However, the appearance of such a reconnaissance mech often heralded the imminent arrival of a large-scale attack force behind it. Sigh, if only that kid had shown up earlier. After sending Xiao Fei to escort the wounded, unconscious sergeant they had found by the roadside back to the train, Yunya followed the road alone. The sergeant, before falling completely unconscious, had muttered repeatedly, save our commander, he's just ahead." Yunya had thought it wasn't far, but after walking 4 or 5 kilometers, she finally spotted a destroyed military vehicle in the wilderness. It seemed to have run over a mine while turning onto the road from the fields. Approaching the still-smoking vehicle, she saw the wounded officer captain. She checked his pulse that was still. Looking around for help, Yunya realized that her comrades had somehow withdrawn without a trace, leaving her alone in the desolate wilderness with the wounded captain. After bandaging the captain's wounds, Yunya dragged him to a hidden spot in the woods and concealed him, planning to return for help. But before she could leave, the forest, swarms of mechs flew overhead, and intense gunfire erupted from the direction of the Alpha 7 base. Damn it! They were surrounded. As dusk fell, she encountered a squad of Imperial soldiers who had failed to retreat in time and were being pursued. She followed them to this small high ground. Once there, they realized it was a cliff behind them. With no other choice, they relied on the terrain to fend off the pursuers. The attackers were repelled, but everyone on the high ground except Yunya was wounded. In their eyes, protecting the medic meant protecting their own lives, the only key to escape. Moreover, it was not yet time for a girl to protect them. They had planned to leave when the enemy was repelled, but snipers blocked their path, and by nightfall they were still at a loss. If not for Dugu Zhan's unexpected arrival, she and the dozen or so men would likely have been trapped on the high ground by the snipers. But this heaven-sent arrival seemed a step too late, as enemy reinforcements had also arrived in time. Perhaps there was still a chance. Yunya scanned the surroundings with her night vision device, but found nothing. If they could take down this phantom rat, they could safely evacuate from here. "Cover me. If you get a chance, everyone proceed with the plan." Yunya shouted back, then tossed a jamming grenade down the high ground. Under the cover of the jamming smoke, she grabbed an anti-armor rocket launcher and vanished into the darkness. The jamming grenade released smoke while emitting interference, temporarily disabling the Phantom Rat's detection radar. Cover. But hearing the shout, I was bewildered. Looking at the wounded soldiers scattered on the high ground, I realized she meant for me to provide cover. But I had never used a sniper rifle. In a panic, I spotted a DLA-10 pistol on the waist of a wounded captain. I snatched it, discarded the sniper rifle, and followed her down the slope. A flash of light in the distance followed by a dull thud. A beam of light pierced the night, extending like a red-hot iron wire. In its glow, the silhouette of a sleek humanoid mech was revealed. The extending line of light in a flash reached the humanoid mech. Hit. The light from the explosion quickly faded, and everything returned to darkness. I still felt uneasy. It was too dark to confirm the result of the strike. As I hesitated in the grass, unsure whether to advance or retreat, a flare shot into the night sky. The humanoid mech had not been destroyed. The attack had only blown off one of its arms. Now it held its gun with one hand, scanning for suspicious targets through its visual system in the flare's light. 20 meters away from the mech, a human figure played a dangerous game of hide-and-seek with the scanning mech, using terrain and weeds for cover. In the distance, more figures were moving closer. The mech quickly spotted the figure trying to evade its attack. It shifted its position and aimed its gun. Before it could fire, a clang sounded and the mech shuddered. Someone was attacking from a distance. Damn, what the hell is that? The projectile from the DLA-10 struck the mech's armor with negligible effect, merely sparking a few tiny flames. It was far from the devastating power I had experienced when I first used it, but it did succeed in drawing the mech's attention. I quickly checked the DLA-10. The firing power was set at 50, no wonder it was so weak. I clicked it up to full power, aimed at the mech's neck joint, and pulled the trigger. In reality, the combat firing power of many individual weapons, including the DLA-10, is set at 50. Their effective range is also measured at half power. These weapons, which lie between lasers and gunpowder-based firearms, use powerful electromagnetic energy to accelerate projectiles. Excessive energy can not only severely damage the weapon, but also harm the user. Therefore, half power is generally used to ensure efficiency and service life. When high power is necessary, corresponding shock-absorbing auxiliary devices can be installed. Unfortunately, I didn't know that. The powerful recoil numbed my hands again, but this time I was mentally prepared. The fired projectile struck true, blasting off the mech's head and shoulder section entirely. I breathed a sigh of relief as the humanoid machine crashed to the ground. A searing pain shot across my left cheek. I reached up and felt something wet. Bringing my hand before my eyes, I saw it was stained with blood. It seemed that as I launched my attack, the humanoid machine had fired as well, but its aim was slightly off. What's more, it had the audacity to try to blow my head off. Or perhaps it was because my head was too small. The 8.5-pound lump on my neck was far less conspicuous than the iron behemoth on the machine's shoulders. Thus I kept my head, but the bullet grazing my cheek left a scar. My face was too thin. Haha. Damn my beautiful youth and lovely face. From now on, I'd better not end up with an ugly wife. I muttered to myself, not pausing my steps, and in a few strides I reached Dr. Yun's hiding spot. Yunya's face was slightly pale. Dodging the Phantom Rat's attack had drained all her energy. Fortunately, the Phantom Rat was destroyed in time, or she would have been done for. As she gasped for breath, a figure suddenly pounced beside her, startling her. Just as she reached for the assault rifle slung over her shoulder, the newcomer repeatedly said, "Don't shoot, don't shoot, it's me, it's me, it's me." "Why is it really you?" Yunya suddenly asked a strange question. "Weren't you the one who told me to provide cover?" I replied, a bit irritated. What did she mean by really you? It was as if. Oh, forget it. Oh, is that so? Hurry and retreat. There's no time left. I can't run anymore. They'll stay and hold off the enemies. You take the wounded on the high ground and get out of here. It's better for one to die than for all of us. No way, I refused without hesitation. That's an order. If you don't go, we'll shoot you. Dr. Yun swung the muzzle of her assault rifle and pressed it against my chest. Damn it, why are you always talking about dying? Live. If we can't win, we just surrender. To me, surrendering seemed— What did you say? Dr. Yun clearly didn't catch my words. Many weapons were firing in this direction, bullets whizzing overhead with a swish, swish, swish. But I could still clearly feel that when I said the word surrender, Dr. Yun nearly pulled the trigger. No, I would never surrender, rest assured. Get lost. I don't want to see you again. Dr. Yun shouted at me. That sounded a bit ambiguous, but the situation didn't allow for such thoughts. Seeing the muzzle of her gun shift slightly, I seized the opportunity and threw a punch, knocking her unconscious. Hitting a girl might be wrong, but hitting a tigress shouldn't be, especially in a life-or-death crisis. Next, Well, it was nothing really. I fished 2 demolition grenades from my equipment pouch, and the moment the flare went out, tossed them out. The enemy infantry quickly closing in immediately dropped to the ground to take cover. Without pausing, I hoisted the unconscious Dr. Yun onto my shoulder and bolted. But no explosion came from behind. Could it be that I hadn't pulled what? Whatever. As long as the enemy wasn't chasing me. I didn't know that the Federation soldiers on the ground had mistaken the two non-explosive demolition grenades for delayed high-energy proton grenades. Thus, they didn't dare get up, even when the explosion was delayed. I just kept running and soon vanished into the dark. My swift disappearance only solidified the Federation infantry's suspicions. Some soldiers near the two grenades scrambled on all fours, crawling as far away as possible from the potential blast radius. In daylight, they might have tossed the grenades back at the enemy, but at night no one could be sure of finding them quickly in the overgrown grass. A high-energy proton grenade had an effective kill radius of up to 10 meters. Any living thing within that range would be dead or injured. It also posed a threat to unprotected personnel from 10 to 50 meters away. Thus, such grenades were a nightmare for infantry. If you encountered one, all you could do was pray to heaven that you could run far enough before it exploded. Due to their immense power, high-energy proton grenades were unsuitable for close combat. A careless user might blow themselves up. So they were equipped with adjustable timers, allowing soldiers to set the detonation time based on the situation to ensure their own safety. As a result, many soldiers used them as timed bombs. Though unsuitable for close combat, high-energy proton grenades were effective for breaking out of encirclements and deterring pursuing infantry. Here, over here. Carrying Yunya, I was heading for the high ground when I heard someone calling from the grass to the right. Following the sound, I saw the dozen or so wounded soldiers. They had taken advantage of the earlier battle to evacuate the high ground themselves and were waiting for Dr. Yun and me to return so we could move out. What happened to Lieutenant Yun? The wounded soldiers asked with concern, seeing her on my shoulder. Nothing. She just passed out from exhaustion. She'll be fine soon. Let's hurry. Can all of you walk? I quickly explained and urged everyone to move. Don't worry, no problem. We can't fight, but walking and carrying people is no trouble. Let us take Lieutenant Yun, one wounded soldier said, trying to sound casual. No need. I'm fine. Let's go quickly. My eyes stung, and I didn't know what to say, just mechanically urging them on. What high-energy proton grenades? They were just ordinary demolition grenades. The mecha squad arriving behind the infantry found the so-called high-energy proton grenades. Report, Captain. We've secured the high ground and found traces of the enemy. Should we continue the pursuit? Set up a perimeter defense. We'll pursue at dawn. They can't have gotten far. The captain, who had been about to order a pursuit, changed his mind upon seeing the destroyed Phantom Rat. He suddenly understood why the infantry had mistaken the demolition grenades for high-energy proton grenades. If he had seen the Phantom Rat being destroyed, he would have thought they were proton grenades too. It was only natural for an enemy with the firepower to instantly destroy a Phantom Rat to have high-energy proton grenades. It would have been strange if they didn't. He didn't want to engage a powerful enemy at night, not knowing what traps they might have set. An attack would have to wait for new reconnaissance mechas to arrive. The cool morning breeze carried a series of pleasant bird songs, waking Yunya from her sleep. Oh, you're awake, do you? Yunya opened her eyes to see a face she loathed. In that moment, she hated the man before her. He had dared to knock her out to surrender, and she might already be a prisoner. Gritting her teeth in fury, Yunya kicked at the face. But she was too close to succeed, though her foot landed solidly on his chest. Seeing Dr. Yun awake, I hurried over to show concern. But a force like a hammer slammed into my chest. I stumbled backward a few steps from my crouched position, unable to keep my balance, and fell with a thud, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Hey, what's wrong? Are you okay? Several wounded soldiers who were preparing breakfast saw me fall and rushed over to help. It's nothing. Keep going. I waved my hand to indicate I was fine. You are all prisoners too. Yunya, taking in the scene, couldn't process it. Lieutenant, you're awake. We escaped last night. Now we're planning to circle around the front lines and head back. We should find our own people in 2 days, one wounded soldier said, oblivious to the oddity of her question. Ah, good. Go about your business. Yunya finally understood their current situation. As I was about to dodge far away from Yunya's sweeping gaze, I had just turned around when I heard someone asking from behind. I shuddered and replied, No, I'm so sturdy, how could I be injured? While repeatedly denying, I quickened my pace to hide behind a tree, hoping to vanish from that terrifying female military doctor's sight as soon as possible. Fortunately, we had chosen to camp in the woods, or it would have been really hard to find a place to hide. Watching Dugu Zhan's figure disappear behind the tree, then glancing at the still damp bloodstain on the ground, Yunya felt an inexplicable pang in her heart. I'm sorry I misjudged you in many ways before. Oh, what? No, how could you have misjudged? Yes, I don't mind. Yunya's apology startled me. I initially wanted to say she hadn't misjudged me, but then I thought that didn't sound right, so I quickly changed my words to say I didn't mind. You're injured, let me have a look. No, really, I'm not. Look in the mirror at your helmet. It's just a minor scratch on my face, already scabbing over. Hearing this, I quickly took off my helmet and saw that one side had been sliced off, now unable to even protect my ear. No wonder my ear felt cold after the facial injury. What about your chest? As she spoke, the military Dr. Yun reached out and pressed against me. Hiss. Really, it's nothing. Ouch, it's just a few broken ribs from falling off the train. I didn't dare to block her hand, and as she touched my old wound, I had to confess. Rat-a-tat, rat-a-tat-a-tat. While military Dr. Yun was treating my wound, a burst of intense gunfire echoed faintly. Everyone froze, and a few wounded soldiers who could still move grabbed their weapons. Military Dr. Yun let me go check. Even though her hands were gentle at that moment, I was still terrified inside. Seizing this opportunity, I naturally couldn't let it pass, and eagerly volunteered to investigate. Wait a moment, almost done. Yunya shot me a glare, and I obediently stayed still, not daring to move. Alright, from now on just call me by my name. My name is Yunya. Go and scout. If there are people, try to rescue them. If not, retreat quickly, and well, think of another plan. Your helmet is useless now, but take mine. After Yunya finished treating my wound, she took off her helmet and handed it to me. This doesn't seem right. It's fine, I'm just looking after the wounded. This thing isn't much use to me. Then thank you very much. I took the helmet and a faint fragrance wafted over, lifting my spirits. Corporal, take this. This thing packs way more punch than the DLA-10. A wounded sergeant handed me a sniper rifle. I don't know how to use it, I said, my face flushing. The sergeant was taken aback, but thankfully Yunya reacted quickly. She took the sniper rifle and demonstrated briefly, saying, "This is how you load and change the energy pack. This is how you aim and fire. This is the scope, and this is the auto-aim activation button. I've already turned it on for you. Just lock onto the target and shoot." Got it. Got it. So it's that easy. I'm off to scout. Catching the sniper rifle Yunya tossed to me, I turned and ran toward the source of the increasingly intense gunfire. Can he handle it? The dazed sergeant recovered and asked Yunya incredulously. He should be fine. Yunya replied, not entirely certain either. 7 airborne soldiers equipped with portable jetpacks were racing at full speed across the uneven hilly terrain. The area was naturally rugged with many hills and ravines unsuitable for high-speed flight. Yet those 7 not only avoided maintaining altitude to safely navigate the terrain, but instead flew as close to the ground as possible, darting through countless obstacles with exceptional skill. Dozens of similarly equipped airborne soldiers pursued them relentlessly, but the pursuers' flying skills were clearly inferior. Some who flew too low collided with obstacles, and a few unlucky ones triggered their jetpack fuel tanks, turning into fireballs on the spot. Those running ahead looked like they're from the Empire. Through the sniper scope, I saw an emblem on the jetpack shells of the 7 fleeing airborne soldiers that looked very familiar, much like the armband on my protective suit. I glanced sideways. Yes, it was identical. Prince Lanster had been fleeing all night under his guards' protection. By dawn, only 6 of his 12 guards remained, and they still couldn't shake off the Federation's airborne company. Although the Federation's airborne company had lost more than half its men that night, they showed no sign of retreating. It seemed inevitable that the prince would eventually be captured once their fuel ran out. Suddenly, with a loud boom, a Federation airborne soldier, flying steadily, exploded in midair. Before either side could figure out what was happening, another Federation soldier turned into a fireball and crashed to the ground. An ambush. The airborne company immediately dispatched some troops to deal with the hidden attackers. Seeing a dozen airborne soldiers flying toward me, I calmly locked the scope onto the leader and pulled the trigger. I never expected the sniper rifle to be so devastating. It was almost one shot, one kill. Once locked on, no one could escape. The leading Federation soldier was hit in a vital spot, his jetpack spiraling out of control before crashing to the ground. Before the scattering airborne soldiers could readjust their course, 2 more were shot down. Seeing reinforcements, Prince Lanster immediately led his remaining guards in a counterattack. The Federation's airborne company clearly hadn't anticipated that the Imperial soldiers who had been fleeing like beaten dogs would dare to fight back. In the chaos, several more were taken down. During the skirmish, 2 guards were shot down while protecting the prince, but the Federation's airborne troops were reduced to single digits. The survivors, seeing the situation turn dire, turned tail and fled. After shooting down the last locked-on soldier, I put away the sniper rifle and climbed down from the tree where I had been hiding. The 5 surviving Imperial airborne soldiers flew over. "Hey, it's you," one of the approaching Imperial soldiers exclaimed in surprise. "Do I know you?" "I am Prince Lanster. If I'm not mistaken, you're Corporal Dugu from the Chungyun, right?" "Huh. Yes, that's me." Facing Prince Lanster, who had removed his flight helmet, I gave an awkward smile. "God help me. I hope the prince is a magnanimous man. Amen." As the prince's meaningful gaze swept over me, I couldn't help but silently pray. "Are you alone?" "No, there are 15 of us, 13 wounded, 1 military doctor, and me. Our camp is nearby. Would your highness like to rest?" I was well aware of Prince Lanster's predicament and was certain he wouldn't follow me. Although from the wounded's perspective, I would have welcomed reinforcements, I knew the prince wouldn't want to be slowed down. Besides, I didn't want to be a human shield, so I emphasized 13 wounded. "Take me to your camp," Prince Lanster said without hesitation. "What?" I couldn't believe my ears, probably still rattled from last night. "Your highness." The guards accompanying Lanster also objected, but he silenced them with a wave. "Corporal Dugu, lead the way." "Oh, all right. Who's your commander?" "Commander?" I thought for a moment. I had been giving orders all night, but I certainly didn't want that burden now. Among the dozen wounded, I only saw one with shoulder insignia matching Captain Locke's. The others didn't seem as impressive as Yunya's. That captain should be the commander. My experience in the army taught me that higher-ranking officers command lower-ranking ones, not the other way around. But that captain was wounded and unconscious, hardly fit to command. That left Second Lieutenant Yunya. Yes, it's Second Lieutenant Yunya. Second Lieutenant Yun, you the female military doctor from the Chung Yun. She's here too. Yes, she sent me out to scout, and that's how I ran into you all. Through our exchange, I led Prince Lanster and his group to the camp quickly. Yunya was startled to see that I had brought back Prince Lanster. Lon, Colonel Landis of the Imperial Airborne Corps. It's an honor to meet you, Lanster interrupted, cutting off her words. Colonel, welcome. We're in dire need of help right now. Are you the commander here? I suppose so. Can you take command, Colonel Landis? All right, leave it to me. I hope you can get everyone out safely. Colonel Landis took command and immediately ordered his guards to deploy detectors to survey the surroundings. The detectors relayed bad news. A large contingent of Federation soldiers was moving in this direction. They are pursuing us. Colonel, if you have a more important mission to execute, now is the time to leave. Yunya gazed at the signals from the detectors received on the miniature battlefield information system being operated by the prince's personal guards and spoke to Prince Lanster, who called himself Colonel Landis. To be honest, I desperately hoped Prince Lanster would leave immediately. He would be the perfect bait to distract the enemy. The enemy hasn't pinpointed our location yet. We must relocate immediately. Pack up and move out. You help me with the wounded. Prince Lanster had no intention of abandoning the wounded to save himself. However, not long after, we were surrounded by the Federation forces on a high ground. The Federation troops did not rush to attack. Instead, they deployed heavy artillery and bombarded the high ground relentlessly. What's the enemy's strength? Prince Lanster asked during a lull in the shelling connecting to the lookout stationed outside the mine. 3 mech squads, 2 reconnaissance mechs, 9 assault mechs, 6 heavy mechs, and an infantry battalion. The lookout reported swiftly. This was a small mine shaft dug by a thief discovered by Lanster's guards using detectors. It wasn't large, barely fitting a dozen people, but it was sturdy enough. The Federation's artillery sent rocks flying everywhere, but couldn't breach the mine. The entrance was hidden behind a large boulder on the high ground, a common sight in this area. What weapons do we have? Lanster asked his guard. 7 assault rifles, 1 sniper rifle, and 10 DLA-10s. With modifications, their firepower would be considerable, but reliability is questionable. The sniper rifle could be modified too, but without the necessary auxiliary parts, no one could use it. Also, we have 2 anti-armor rockets and some grenades, the guard added, scanning everyone's equipment. Any high-energy proton mines left? We have only 1 left. I don't know about them. What's with them and us? We're all soldiers of the Empire. Now more than ever, we must be united. Yes, Prince. I mean, Colonel. I was wrong. They'll go ask. The guard's inquiry yielded the predictable result: none. Modify the sniper rifle. Ill use it, the prince said after a moment's thought, not holding much hope for the Colonel, that won't do. The recoil is too strong. Let us handle it, the guard protested. I can withstand it. Absolutely not. Stop arguing. He'll handle the sniper rifle. I'm tough enough to bear any force. Watching the prince and his guard bicker endlessly, I couldn't help but interject. The prince looked at it. Leave it to him. I saw him destroy a phantom rat with a DLA-10 without any auxiliary equipment. Yunya's words immediately drew gasps of astonishment from everyone in the mine. Seeing the dawning realization in Prince Lanster's eyes, I suddenly felt like prey caught in a trap. Any struggle was futile, and I could only wait quietly for the hunter's judgment. The enemy is advancing. Why are they retreating? The lookout's transmission came through again, tinged with confusion. Everyone capable of moving rushed outside to see what was happening. Are you still willing to be his man? If not, I'll take over, Yunya asked Prince Lanster, who had also lingered behind. I thought you'd still be opposed, Lanster laughed. It's our own people. Our reinforcements have arrived. Cheers erupted from outside the mine. Shouts of joy echoed from beyond the mine shaft. On November 11th, Imperial Year 331, the Imperial Hylon Star Operations Headquarters replaced the original commander of the Takahan Theater, Lieutenant General Sarwar, who had retreated without orders and shirked his duty. Vice Commander Lin Jiasen was appointed as the new commander, leading the 4th and 11th Army Groups along with the 1st and 3rd Army Groups under the operations headquarters to launch a counterattack. In truth, Lieutenant General Sarwar might have been blameless if he had rescued Prince Lanster even without any notable achievements. At the critical moment, Sarwar was unwilling to risk the annihilation of his forces and valued his own life above all, so he ordered a retreat to ensure survival. However, he harbored a faint hope that 2 mech battalions and an infantry battalion could rescue Prince Lanster. But the battle's unexpected turn caught everyone off guard. The frustrated Federation forces, unable to execute their annihilation plan, vented their anger on the 3 battalions sent to rescue the prince in the no man's land. Not wanting to let go of the prey that had slipped away, the Federation's Hylon Defense Forces massed heavy troops and wiped out those 3 battalions in the Teclaro no man's land. Thus the prince was not rescued, and Sarwar was branded with the crime of retreating without orders and shirking duty. The Empire's counterattack was timely enough to extricate the beleaguered Prince Lanster. The Takahan Theater, occupied by the Federation for less than 30 hours, changed hands again. To avoid being encircled by the Empire, the Federation forces swiftly retreated, arriving quickly and leaving even faster. The advancing Imperial forces, unable to exert their full strength, followed the retreating Federation troops. They effortlessly pushed the front line nearly 100 kilometers forward after retaking the Takahan Theater, before reluctantly halting when faced with fierce Federation resistance. Lieutenant Dugu Zhan. Captain, were you calling me? Seeing Captain Wall's annoyed expression, I realized those calls were indeed for me, but when had I become a lieutenant? Lieutenant Dugu, here is your appointment letter and medal. You are now a lieutenant. You don't need to work here anymore. Prince Lanster wants you to go to his private carriage. Is something the matter? I asked. How should I know? Hurry up. Your work here is done. It had been nearly 2 days since returning to the Changyun. I was back working in the newly assigned dining car. Since Sang Song's hand injuries would take at least a week to heal, I had been promoted to temporary head chef. Although the car had automatic cooking machines, their dishes lacked character, so someone still needed to prepare and season the food. Though I was a novice with the cooking machine's help, I managed passably well. Plus, Sang Song occasionally sneaked out of the field hospital to guide me. Someday I could open a restaurant back in my village, if the villagers were willing. Putting down my work and wiping my hands, I took the paper scroll and small brocade box from Captain Wall. Without examining them, I hurried toward Lanster's private carriage. Lanster, do you realize how many mistakes you made this time? Yes, Your Majesty. Good. You need to curb your tendency to act on emotion. You were lucky this time not to be buried with the wounded, but you won't be so fortunate next time. Remember, your safety comes first. I still need your help. As the figure on the screen vanished, the interstellar line disconnected. Lanster withdrew his gaze and sighed. He wanted to speak, but the words stuck in his throat. As the figure on the screen vanished, the interstellar line disconnected. Lanster withdrew his gaze and sighed. He wanted to speak, but the words stuck in his throat. Perhaps time would heal everything. Your Highness, he's here, a guard announced after knocking and entering. I see. How is his mood? He doesn't seem very happy. Oh, let him in. Granted permission, I entered the prince's newly assigned private carriage's office, feeling thoroughly annoyed. What's this? Does he want to see me, or do I want to see him? And I need permission. I muttered inwardly, but still observed etiquette, raising my hand in a sloppy salute. Please have a seat. Do you know why I summoned you? Prince Lanster nodded, gesturing for me to sit. Thank you, sir. I don't know, sir, but I have some items to return to you. Calling him sir, I walked quickly to his desk and placed the scroll and brocade box on it. When did you learn to say sir? Lanster was surprised by Dugu Zhan's tone. Reporting, sir, I learned. Though sir was something ID picked up during supply runs over the past 2 days, I wasn't about to tell the truth. No one could verify it anyway. The Chinjian's supplies had been decimated during the escape, and as the temporary head chef, ID been running around a lot to improve the meals during the rest period. ID encountered many people with more rank insignia than me, hence the habit of saying sir. What does this mean? Don't you want them? Prince Lanster pointed at the items on the table. Yes, sir. I'm just an ordinary person who did what I could. I don't deserve these. Please grant them to someone more suitable. No way was I going to sell my life for a few trinkets. Very well. Now let's talk. I'm sending you to the Kadel Military Academy for training. When do you plan to leave? Lanster put the appointment letter and brocade box into a drawer. Sir, may I refuse? Training? That probably meant going to some academy. Damn, just kill me now. Refuse. Haven't you heard? Kadel Military Academy is the dream of every Imperial soul. Sorry, sir, I haven't. I'm sure what you say is true, but it's not my dream. Jason, come in, Prince Lanster called out. A guard entered. Show Lieutenant Dugu some basic skills you learned at Kadel. Keep it simple. Yes, Your Highness. Jason scanned the room, then dragged a steel-framed chair from beside the door and placed it before me. Without any visible effort, he raised his hand and struck the chair's back, instantly twisting it into a heap of scrap metal. Excellent. You may leave. With the prince's praise, Jason saluted and withdrew. Looking at the mangled chair, I sneered inwardly. All destruction, no creation. That was my chair to sit on. Now I have to stand. So what do you think? Isn't it impressive? Don't you wish to be as formidable as him? Prince Lanster pointed at the twisted chair, continuing his persuasion. Reporting, sir, no, I don't. My reply was firm and decisive. Don't you want to become a general? To command thousands of troops like I do? No, sir. Commanding thousands of troops was indeed tempting, but I had no desire to end up like Prince Lanster, fleeing like a hunted hare. Don't you want to protect the ones you love most? Prince Lanster was running out of ideas. Sir, I haven't even fallen. As the conversation wore on, my previously rigid gaze began to wander restlessly. I stole glances at the opulent decorations in the prince's office. The gilded ceiling, the silver thread wallpaper, the carpet soft as an emerald meadow, and couldn't help but sigh inwardly how different people could be. A mere office of a prince could be so lavishly adorned, no wonder there were so many beggars on the streets. What does that matter? Aren't your parents and siblings the ones you love most? Sir, those are people I love, but not my most loved. The one I love most is only one, and can only be one. If there were more than two, I suppose they couldn't be called the most. Sir, please be mindful of your wording. As I rattled on, my gaze suddenly caught sight of a fascinating object on the prince's desk. You? Prince Lanster was momentarily at a loss for words, unsure of what to say next. Training at the Carter Military Academy couldn't be forced, but the prince was reluctant to give up on a potentially talented individual, even if the man in question currently seemed more like a fool. Such an opportunity, if presented to anyone else, would have them laughing in their dreams. Lanster now had no desire to engage in a pedantic debate over wording with that fellow who should be renamed. Lanster knew in his heart that while he could cite ample evidence to argue that the most didn't necessarily mean the only one doing so would likely be futile and a waste of time. As expected, Prince Lanster heard Dugu Zhan pause before continuing. And sir, I believe everyone should protect themselves. Why had the boy's speech suddenly lost its fluency? Could something be distracting him? What was it that had captured his attention? Prince Lanster, lost in thought, opened his eyes and followed Dugu Zhan's gaze. So that's it. This kid has the same nature as I do, after all. This makes things easier. Watching where Dugu Zhan's eyes were fixed, Prince Lanster immediately formulated a plan. It was an exquisitely detailed mecha model placed as a decoration on the prince's desk by some unknown person. Every piece of equipment on the model was complete. I stared unblinkingly at the mecha model, only realizing my lapse when a hand picked it up. You like this model? I'll give it to you. Prince Lanster held the model out to me. No, that wouldn't be right, sir. Take it. It's a gift between friends. If you hadn't appeared in time in the Takahan war zone, I might be lying in a grave now. Consider this small gift a token of my gratitude for saving my life. Prince Lanster said earnestly. Since that's the case, refusing would be impolite. He'll accept it. Thank you, sir. Don't mention it. I have something even better. What do you think of this? Prince Lanster removed a flat round insignia from around his neck and showed it to me in his palm. The insignia was dazzlingly golden. It bore a lifelike engraving of an shaped golden dragon, but otherwise seemed unremarkable. Just as I was wondering what Prince Lanster wanted me to see, a gleam of light emerged from the dragon's eyes, rose about 2 feet, and then dispersed with the eyes as the center, revealing a three-dimensional image before me. So how do you feel? I can't describe it. Is it beautiful? Beautiful. Is it good looking? Don't you want to own a mecha like this? You'll give it to me. That's great. Where's this mecha now? I can go get it myself. This Outyin is my personal machine. It was custom made for me by Fanteon Group, one of the 9 largest mecha manufacturers in the universe. So I can't give it to you. If you want your own mecha, you'll have to earn it yourself. How? By training at the Carter Military. Is there another way? What do you think? If you don't want to own your own mecha, then forget it. Just say the word. Do you want it or not? No. I do. Is that a no or a yes? When I have money later, I could buy several. Yes, all those cheap, broken down junk you can pick up anywhere. Take the one in your hand, for example. It's the latest assault mecha from St. Filer Corporation, priced around $3 million. Even as a captain, your annual allowance is less than 30,000. Even if you didn't eat or drink, it would take you 100 years to afford a decent mecha like that. If you go to Carter for training, I can guarantee that once you obtain an A-class mecha license, they'll give you the most advanced mecha custom made for you. With your real skills, that should be a piece of cake. You're not lacking confidence in yourself, are you? Prince Lanster, wielding both carrot and stick, ensnared me. Alright, I've decided. Remember what you said today. When the time comes, I'll come for my mecha with an A-class license. I said through gritted teeth. Excellent. When do you plan to leave? The sooner the better. Then it's settled. Go pack your things. I've arranged a ship to take you there. They'll notify them to send someone to pick you up. Damn, that was a bit too fast, but it suited me perfectly. Now I was probably even more eager than Lanster. I wished I could be at that Carter Military Academy today, get my A-class license tomorrow, and have my own mecha the day after. Though excited, I didn't forget proper etiquette. I saluted Prince Lanster, and after seeing Dugu Zhan off, Lanster looked up a number on his portable computer and made an interstellar call. This is Prince Lanster. I'd like to speak with your president. The secretary on the other end dashed into the president's office at lightning speed, and a nervous, middle-aged man appeared on the communication screen. Your Highness, it's an honor to see you. How may my company be of service? You are Philojones, president of St. Filer Corporation. Yes, Your Highness. Good. I've seen the new mecha your company developed. It's acceptable. You can go to the Imperial Procurement Office to discuss the corresponding purchase. They'll inform them. That's wonderful. Your Highness, I don't know how to thank you. Philojones said, his voice trembling. If you don't know, then forget it. Just don't make mecha models so realistic that they leak secrets and don't have them placed as decorations on my desk. If anything like this happens again, I'll invite you to be a guest at the Ministry of Justice. In the future, just send me the relevant parameters and performance indicators for new models. I'll assign a liaison officer to be stationed at your company. Yes, 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 yes. Under Prince Lanster's stern words, Philojones, the president of St. Filer Corporation, could only respond with a stream of yes. Come in. Prince Lanster had just hung up the interstellar call when he heard a knock. The prince called out, and a personal guard entered carrying a large folder. Have all the data been analyzed? Lanster asked, taking the folder from the guard. Yes, Your Highness. The results aren't very favorable. There's only a 9.7 probability. Why so low? Could there be a mistake? No, Your Highness. Although he joined the Galactic Guild on Hemnes very early, his task completion rate over the past 6 years has consistently been below 30. Therefore, we believe his abilities require further assessment. If it weren't for his assistance in capturing the infamous interstellar fugitive, he would likely have received a rating of only 0.7 probability. I see. Are there any other reference points? Could his membership in the Galactic Guild add some weight? No, Your Highness. As for age, as far as we know, he wasn't the youngest to join the Galactic Guild. However, the Tianchi analysis team discovered another interesting individual while analyzing data gathered from the planet Hemnes. Their assessment of him is very high, reaching 73. The team recommends finding this person. Oh, what kind of person is it? We only know he's called Yi. All other personal information is blank. He joined the Dark Guild on Hemnes a year later than Dugu Zhan. Over nearly 5 years, his task completion rate was 100. However, he went missing 6 months ago. Interesting. People like that are hard to find if you deliberately look for them. He'll come out on his own if he wants to. Don't waste time searching for him. Is the list I requested ready? Yes, Your Highness. They are all elites selected from various departments. Forgive my impertinence, but I believe any one of them is far superior to that Dugu Zhan. Perhaps. But you haven't seen the look in his eyes when he stares at a mecha. To become its class license holder, mere strength is not enough. Yeming Corridor was the only passage through the Yeming asteroid belt. The Federation occupied the sole planet in the corridor, Yuewang Planet, and established a material transfer base there. Most military supplies from various Federation planets were gathered here before being allocated to the Federation's outer space fleets. Thus, Yuewang Planet's strategic importance was self-evident. On November 12, Imperial Year 331, a Federation interstellar patrol ship was conducting routine patrol duties in the Yuewang Star region. Several points of light streaked across the deep, tranquil, starry sky, silently slipping into the patrol ship's course. Caught off guard, the Federation interstellar patrol ship hurriedly tried to evade, but it was too late. Under the continuous assault of the points of light, the ship's hull burst apart, transforming into a fireball. Thus began the Empire's surprise attack on the Federation's Yuewang Planet. The Federal patrol ship was destroyed, and the Federal reconnaissance satellites around Moon King Star detected the Imperial fleet less than 10,000 kilometers away. The Moon King Star defense fleet hastily launched, but was routed by the Imperial fleet before forming battle lines. Had it not been for the deployment of nearly 10,000 fighters and Mech from 3 space carriers, the Imperial fleet might have captured Moon King Star with a single assault. 6,000 Imperial high-speed warships entangled by Federal fighters and Mechs formed a spherical formation and steadily advanced toward Moon King Star. To ensure surprise and speed, the Imperial raiding fleet did not include slower space carriers. Although the high-speed warships carried a few Mechs, their numbers were trivial compared to the Federal force of nearly 10,000 fighters and Mechs. Moreover, capturing Moon King Star depended on those Mechs. Pre-battle intelligence indicated no Federal carriers near Moon King Star. How then did they appear during the battle? 3 of them. The Imperial fleet commander watched the Mech swarms slowly devouring his ships, unease gnawing at his heart. Swarms of Mechs, when engaging high-speed warships, typically first assault the propulsion systems to cripple them. Without power, the warships were left helpless. The Imperial fleet was shrewd. The spherical formation effectively utilized mutual support and protected the vulnerable, poorly armored sterns, preventing the enemy from easily attacking the main propulsion systems from the rear. While striking the Imperial fleet, the Federal Mechs also suffered heavy losses. Watching the visibly diminished Federal fighter swarms, the Imperial fleet commander found no joy. The persistent unease urged him to withdraw the fleet from this star sector, but that was merely a wish. Moon King Star must be taken at any cost, otherwise the Imperial outer space fleet, having roamed Federal territory for 6 months, would retreat to Imperial space due to supply shortages. This would nullify the fleet's half-year gains and grant the beleaguered Federal outer space fleet a rare respite. If the Federation caught its breath, the war would become far more difficult. Enduring the Federation's fierce assault, the Imperial fleet finally neared Moon King Star's low orbit and successfully crippled a Federal space carrier. Next, deploying carrier-based Mechs to the planet's surface with warships providing fire support from above would soon secure Moon King Star. The Imperial fleet methodically deployed Mechs as Moon King Star's sporadic anti-aircraft fire gradually intensified. The remaining Federal aerospace fighters ceased charging the Imperial formation and joined Moon King Star's defense, attacking Imperial Mechs attempting to land on the planet. Some unfortunate Imperial Mech pilots were struck before even detaching from their deployment pods. The lucky ones were severely damaged, while the unlucky ones exploded into fireballs, endangering the warships. Amidst the fierce stalemate, 2 Federal destroyer fleets emerged silently from the asteroid belts, flanking Moon King Star, cutting off the Imperial fleet's retreat. Just as the 6,000 Imperial high-speed warships faced annihilation, 2 Imperial reinforcement fleets arrived in the nick of time and plunged into battle, trapping the Federal destroyer fleet between 2 fires. Sensing danger, the Federal destroyers hastily withdrew. Soon over 10,000 destroyers from the 2 fleets vanished into the asteroid belt. The Empire did not pursue. The priority was capturing Moon King Star quickly. The arrival of the reinforcement fleets successfully relieved the high-speed fleet, but did little to aid the capture of Moon King Star. The narrow corridor terrain prevented the Empire from deploying its full strength. Facing stubborn resistance on Moon King Star, the 3 Imperial fleets could only suppress the planet while gradually rotating deployments of carrier-based Mechs for a direct assault. The Federal destroyer fleet hiding in the asteroid belt maneuvered at the risk of collision to emerge behind the Imperial fleet and envelop their retreat once more. Marshal, the enemy has encircled our 6th, 9th, and 13th fleets. It seems the enemy was prepared. Should we withdraw, all fleets redeploy, and then attack? Nie Tianxian, watching the battle footage from Moon King Star's reconnaissance satellites, cautiously suggested to the Imperial Outer Space Fleet's Supreme Commander, Imperial Marshal Francis Harley, whose face was grim. 3 incompetence. A few days without battle, and they've forgotten how to fight. 3 fleets couldn't take a tiny Moon King Star in over 2 hours and got surrounded instead. Tell them to hold fast. Order all fleets. Full speed ahead, target Moon King Star. Hearing Harley order the main fleet to advance, Nie Tianxian gasped and urgently said, "Marshal, this could be a Federal trap. Indeed, and also a golden opportunity to catch the main Federal fleet. But in such a confined space, if the enemy uses planetary fortress cannons against us, the situation will be highly unfavorable." I know. The fortress cannons on Moon King Star have at most 2 firing opportunities. The resulting losses are tolerable given our fleet numbers. What if there's an accident? Accident. The goddess of fortune won't always side with the Federation. Relay my orders, target the enemy destroyer fleet. Open fire at will. As he spoke, the main Imperial fleet entered effective main cannon range. At Supreme Commander Marshal Francis Harley's command, the warships' main cannons eagerly unleashed colossal beams of light upon the blocking Federal destroyer fleet ahead. Don't rush, wait a little longer, wait. Good now. Open all fortress cannon muzzles. All target acquired, the main Imperial fleet. Target locked. Excellent. Prepare for salvo. Fire. The fortress cannons on Moon King Star long charged with energy unleashed beams of annihilation upon the Imperial fleet crowded in the narrow space. Marshal Francis Harley's estimate of the fortress cannons' firing opportunities was roughly correct, but he failed to account for quantity. He assumed a single fortress cannon per planet, but the Federation had installed 6 on Moon King Star. Overwhelming energy swept through the nightlit corridor, instantly engulfing countless Imperial vessels. As the light faded and energy subsided, a few surviving ships reappeared. These fortunate vessels, however, had lost all combat capability, reduced to scrap metal, and becoming obstacles for the remaining Imperial fleet's maneuvers. This salvo from Moon King Star's 6 fortress cannons instantly destroyed nearly 10,000 Imperial vessels of various types, and crippled over 20,000 more. The Imperial Outer Space Fleet, originally comprising 110,000 vessels, lost 30% of its combat power in an instant. The only small comfort was that some Federal ships unable to retreat were also caught in the blast. Amidst the chaos in the Imperial fleet, Federal vessels of all types long hidden in the asteroid belt swarmed out and encircled the Imperial fleet. The Imperial fleet, intent on annihilating the main Federal force, had instead become the prey. After 72 hours of hyperspace travel, the interstellar transport prepared by the Prince for me delivered me to Daruka Planet, home to the Cardell Military Academy. At an altitude of 100,000 meters above the planet's surface, the transport docked with the Academy's dedicated shuttle. I stepped into the shuttle's cabin through the docking port. Welcome, Corporal Dugu. I am Sarah Ito, Student Council President. On behalf of the entire faculty and student body, I welcome you to our school. During this short journey, I will briefly introduce our school's glorious history. A person in military uniform appeared before me, greeting me warmly. The person before me was fair-skinned with regular features, a straight nose, and a square mouth. Standing nearly 2 meters tall, he appeared quite handsome and dashing. However, my mood was poor. Noticing the absence of rank insignia on his uniform, I casually acknowledged him and found a seat in the empty cabin. Meanwhile, aboard the interstellar transport that brought me a messenger rushed into the captain's quarters. Report. Urgent orders. The ship is to proceed immediately to the Otenly Star sector for assembly. Any reason given? The captain asked. No, but the communications room received an extremely weak distress signal, very brief. A distress signal? Did you make out the content? No, only fragments. Something about Lon and Chi's ship. Lon. Chi. Ship A. Could it be? Orders. Lock coordinates to the Otenly Star sector. Enter hyperspace. The interstellar transport captain went to the bridge to issue the transfer order. To his knowledge, only 2 ships in the Imperial fleet had Lon or Chi in their names, the Blue Sky Miracle and the Land's Dragon Knight. Both ships were currently with Marshal Francis Imperial Outer Space Attack Fleet, and the Land's Dragon Knight was Marshal Francis Harley's personal flagship. Whichever ship it was, if they had indeed sent a distress signal, it could only mean one thing: the Imperial Outer Space Fleet was in dire straits. Inside the shuttle descending towards Cardell Military Academy, Student Council President Sarah Edo rattled on, briefly introducing Cardell's long and glorious history to Dugu Zhan. Finally reaching his conclusion, Sarah realized his audience seemed somewhat out of sorts. Therefore, choosing Cardell Academy is your wisest decision, Corporal Dugu. Corporal Dugu. Have we arrived? So soon? I woke from my sleep dazed. Sarah, realizing his lengthy speech had been entirely wasted, was disheartened. Wah. Were you even listening to me? Yes. You just said Cardell Military Academy, founded in Imperial Year 1, is the Empire's oldest military institution. Every Imperial monarch has studied here. Over 300 years since its founding, it has trained millions of military personnel, including 89 marshals, 178,534 generals, and countless other officers, etc. I didn't get it wrong, did I? To avoid souring relations with the Student Council President, immediately I mustered my energy and tried to recall what I had heard before, dozing off mindful of past lessons. Kid, you've got something. I know you're not telling the whole truth, but you're not lying either. You did catch part of it. Fine, I'll let it slide. We've arrived. Follow me. They'll take you to register, collect your supplies, and then to the dormitory. The shuttle came to a halt on the landing pad. I followed Sarah down. Sarah hailed a hovercar and gestured for me to get in. The hovercar sped through Cardell Academy. Looking at the scenery, I almost thought I had come to the wrong place. Hardly anyone in military uniform was visible, though at first glance it seemed like a city. The school's management appears looser than typical military academies, but that's only in the peripheral basic military education zone, Sarah explained, noticing my confusion. The core professional military training zone is far stricter. So, they'll be training in the professional military training zone? I asked presumptuously. Sarah glanced at me and smiled. No. All new students, regardless of rank, must study in the peripheral basic military education zone. Only after passing all basic military assessments can they enter the professional military training zone. Damn, what a hassle. The hovercar skirted a group of people roughhousing on the road and continued onward. Sarah muttered absently, Why are these guys let out so early? Did something happen? At Sarah's signal, the hovercar stopped in front of the college's general affairs building. After paying the fare and alighting, Sardu led Dugu Zhan to the registration area. Instructor J, what are you busy with? Could you help register this new student? Inside a modest office, an officer was busy organizing a file cabinet. He turned around upon hearing someone call out and greeted us. Sardu. Wait a moment, they'll be right with you. So this is the new arrival. Just him. Weren't there supposed to be 2 batches of new cadets arriving today? Why is it only him? The officer closed the file cabinet, walked over to the desk, and booted up the computer to connect to the intercollegiate network. Another batch. I wasn't aware of that. I only received him. Let me check. That batch was cancelled at the last minute. It seems something significant has indeed occurred. You must be Dugu Zhan. Your records have been transferred from the military. Place your hand here. Either hand will do. Yes, just like that. Following the instructions, Dugu Zhan placed his hand on a template. Moments later, a machine beside the computer issued a card. Identity confirmed. Your tuition and fees have been prepaid for 5 years. However, if you fail to graduate and obtain a Class A license within that period, according to the agreement between the school and your sponsor, you will remain at the academy until you achieve the required results. All subsequent costs will be borne by you. If you complete your studies ahead of schedule, the school will refund the remaining fees. Keep this card safe. Do not lose it. It is extremely useful. The officer handed over the card. Still reeling from the officer's lengthy explanation, Dugu Zhan mechanically. Has something happened at the academy? Instructor J. Sardu seized the opportunity to ask. You don't know? You were out picking up the new arrival. The academy announced a suspension of classes half an hour ago. The resumption date will be notified later. Suspended classes. Why the sudden suspension? Who knows? But from what I gather, all field-grade officers have left the academy, and all company-grade officers have been assembled in the specialized military zone awaiting orders. If you had arrived any later, I would have already been ordered to report to the specialized military zone myself. Well, I must be going now. I can't chat any longer. Leaving the registration office, Sardu led Dugu Zhan to the logistics department to collect a steel basin, a steel mess, tin, a set of toiletries, and a bedroll. Hey, wait. That'll be 576 yuan. Will you be paying in cash or by transfer? Clutching an armful of items, Dugu Zhan was about to leave when the logistics clerk called out to him. What? Haven't I already paid the tuition and fees? These are separate charges not related to tuition. Dugu Zhan turned to look at Sardu. Sardu nodded with a hint of embarrassment. It's the academy's rule. Dugu Zhan was dumbfounded. I don't have any money on me. No money on you. You can't be serious. What about your savings? You must have some savings, right? I've never saved any money. As soon as he said this, Sardu nearly stumbled. Heavens. In a civilization this advanced, there's actually someone who has never saved money. What a fuss over nothing. To save money, one must first have money to save. When the villagers sent me off, I was penniless. My father always used to say a young man who needs money should earn it himself. Before I left, he just tossed me a few pieces of luggage which I never even had time to open. Later I joined the army, but aside from daily meals, I didn't have a single cent. Where's your identification tag? Let me see it. Sardu seemed to recall something. Is this it? Dugu Zhan produced the newly issued card. No, not that. Your dog tag. Dog tag. What's that? Sardu finally couldn't help but shout. The thing hanging around your neck. Didn't they give you one when you enlisted? When I enlisted? I think I did get something like that. Was it supposed to be worn around the neck? I thought it was a keychain. You might find it on my belt. Dugu Zhan recalled receiving a small metal piece with a chain upon enlistment. He hadn't paid it any mind and had tucked it into his waistband. Sardu seemed to choke on his anger, momentarily speechless. Nevertheless, seeing that Dugu Zhan's hands were full, he stepped forward and helped retrieve the dog tag. Sardu took the dog tag and inserted it into a slot on the logistics department's automatic payment machine. Soon several lines of numbers appeared. A soldier's identification dog tag is issued to every recruit upon enlistment. It records the soldier's name and basic information, and when connected to a terminal, it can display the holder's unit and rank. It also serves as proof for drawing military allowances. Wow, kid, you're loaded. And you said you had no money. Sardu exclaimed, staring at the figures. Loaded? No way. How much is there? Clutching his pile of belongings, Dugu Zhan leaned in. Ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands. 500,000, 1,110. Seeing the balance displayed, Dugu Zhan was so excited he nearly dropped everything he was holding. Sardu steadied him. You didn't know you had this much money. The 500,000 might have been a gift from a friend. I only found out today. As for the 1,000 plus, that's your corporal's allowance. Shall I transfer the money for you? Yes, please do. All done. Now let me take you to your dormitory. I've troubled you for so long. I'm really sorry. Why don't you just tell me my room number, and I'll find it myself. Dugu Zhan found it strange that a chairman, even if it was a student council chairman, would have so much free time to accompany a new student around. It's no trouble. For your safety, I'd better escort you personally. For my safety? What danger could there possibly be here? Seeing Sardu's serious expression, Dugu Zhan's laughter faded. The logistics department wasn't far from the student dormitory area. Sardu soon led Dugu Zhan to the foot of a 30-story building. As they arrived, Sardu noticed a beautiful girl who seemed to have been waiting for some time, stepping forward to greet them. Welcome. A warm welcome. Why are you so late? I've been waiting here for ages. The girl's tone was like that of a lover eagerly awaiting their beloved's arrival after a long, agonizing wait. Intoxicating and pitiable. Silly, don't be silly. Sardu tensed up at the sight of the girl and scolded her without any hint of gentleness. At least that was how Dugu Zhan saw it. Such a lovely girl deserved nothing but affection, yet here was someone yelling at her so boorishly. It was truly silly. I was being kind enough to come and help you welcome your junior. If you don't appreciate it, that's fine, as long as the junior understands my good intentions. Isn't that right, junior? Silly batted her big sparkling eyes at Dugu Zhan. Yes. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Silly, a member of the college's Life Affairs Committee. Welcome to our academy. Follow me. We'll take you to your dormitory. Here, let me help you with your things. Mr. Chairman, you may take your leave now. As she spoke, Silly naturally placed her hand on the pile of items Dugu Zhan was carrying. From a distance, it looked like a beautiful girl helping a lucky, slightly chubby boy with his luggage. But Dugu Zhan knew the truth. The moment those slender fingers touched his load, it suddenly felt much heavier. She was certainly helpful, making things worse. Hey, what's the meaning of this? Sardu's face flushed bright red. Whether from anger or embarrassment, Dugu Zhan couldn't tell. He suspected it was the former, but why was he so angry? Was it because of the girl? Why? But Dugu Zhan had no time to ponder. He could only follow the beautiful girl step by step up the dormitory stairs. Corporal Dugu, be careful. If you don't like that dormitory, I can arrange another one for you. Sardu tactfully didn't follow, calling out from below with an ulterior motive Dugu Zhan couldn't discern. Up to the 5th floor, Dugu Zhan could still walk with his head held high, carrying the heavy load up the stairs step by step. By the 6th to 10th floors, his head drooped and his chest sagged. Nearing the 20th floor, Silly finally withdrew her hand, which had grown a bit sore from being extended for so long. How many more floors? Dugu Zhan gasped for breath. Almost there. It was remarkable. A girl who had climbed 20 floors without even a flushed face or a racing heart. Although Dugu Zhan had practically pushed her up those 20 floors, he still felt deeply ashamed. 3 more floors and finally Silly said, "Here we are. This is the one." It was a dormitory near the stairwell. 3009. Phew. Thank you, Miss Silly. I hope to see you again. But how do I open this door? Staring at the smooth dormitory door which lacked even a doorknob, Dugu Zhan had no idea how to open it. Just swipe your student card through that reader. Oh, it looks like the door isn't locked. You can go right in. Really? Miss Silly, won't you come in and rest for a while? The door, which had seemed firmly shut just a moment ago, now stood slightly ajar. A stifled laugh reached Dugu Zhan's ears. He looked around. The hallway was empty with no one else in sight. He must have misheard. Backing into the door to push it open, Dugu Zhan turned to invite Silly inside. No, that's all right. Please go on in. They'll come visit once you've settled in. Silly quickly waved her hands in refusal. It's no trouble at all. Splash. A mess tin full of water landed on his head, drenching him completely. Peals of silvery laughter rang out from inside the dormitory. Silvery? Dugu Zhan turned to look inside. Heavens! What was going on here? Inside the dormitory, 5 girls were laughing uproariously. Is this my dormitory? Dugu Zhan hastily retreated to the hallway and asked Silly. Yes. What's the matter? Silly's expression was somewhat unnatural. But the girls inside. Oh, them. They're my roommates. Huh. That's not quite right. Could I switch to another dormitory? A windfall Dugu Zhan might accept, but a bevy of beauties falling from the sky. Knowing his own appeal all too well, he found that impossible. Switch dormitories. You don't like this one? Like it? Yes, I like it. Oh no, I mean. Well, yes. Tell you what, if the academy can't arrange a change, it'll just... Clatter, clatter. As he spoke and backed away, Dugu Zhan's foot missed the step. Losing his balance, he tumbled down the staircase, scattering the items in his arms everywhere. Silly, who had been struggling to keep a straight face, finally burst into unrestrained laughter.